Play with the champion
He
in
does.
his
Yeah, you
deck?
have to be level 14 to unlock them, right? Like,
What's a champion?
it's the Archer Queen. You see that? It's
What
that.
does it do?
It's broken. It's really broken. I'm not allowed to
Oh,
swear, right?
that
I've
guy.
never played it.
Not a guy, it's a girl.
If you go into cards and you scroll all the way down, you'll see there's like 3 of these champion things, right? You have they can have an ability. All the abilities are broken. You unlock these at level 14, so you have to be super sweaty or pay a lot of money.
Wait, which guy is it that has the
He
archery?
goes invisible and starts turning into a machine.
Yeah, Caden.
Caden,
Oh,
hey, no,
man.
try hard, Caden.
He's so sweat. I don't even know the guy, and I already know he's such a sweat.
In the class chat, he told another guy who he was
Wait, it
previously in a
cost-
bracket in,
it
he was
cost
going to
elixir.
unfriend.
Ability.
Oh. Caden was going to unfriend another guy just so
No, you can't see
he
his
didn't
deck.
leak his deck.
He's the most try-hard of all of them.
Okay, so it's okay if I flame that guy, right?
Guy
Yes.
has a mini graveyard that he summons?
Yeah, it's extremely balanced. There is lots of counterplay. I'm pretty sure the Skeleton Knight is the worst one of the 3.
Wait,
Archer
the
are
Golden
pretty.
Knight just chains attacks,
Yeah.
and he charges.
Yeah. So if you press the button while he's at the bridge, he just runs all the way to the King Tower. It's kind of balanced. Also, it has so much health for no reason at all.
Alright, anyways, you guys are live right now. Everyone can...
Hmm?
Oh, it's live?
It's live right now.
I'm muting
push it
myself
to-
now.
Oh god.
Oh,
I see it now. I see.
You should probably use a different timer than this one.
Not we're using the...
Alright, whatever. You should ping everyone join the stream, right? You did that. You're one step ahead of me. Okay. So when do the games start? Do you know?
5. All the contestants.
Alright.
It's
Are you
yeah.
3 gonna be in the stream the entire time? The 3 of you. I assume you're just doing background work, right? I thought
Yeah, I'm just...
just the whole reason to have commentator like tryouts is to have commentators, so you don't have to do that.
Yeah, basically.
So you guys are just gonna dip after what, like the tournament starts going on?
No, we're gonna watch. You and Alan are too interesting.
That's just not true.
Kevin Yao. I need to unvip.
Yo, it's Kevin. Yeah. Hold on, I can't see chat for some. Is chat enabled?
Yeah, chat's
Oh, there
good.
we go. Okay. No, I just had it zoomed in. Okay. Hello, Kevin. How's it going? All right. So where was I? You do have BlueStacks running. It's looking good, right?
That's looking...
Okay.
Right now it's just...
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to hear your question.
All right. Kevin seems to have this idea that I'm going to go off on a tangent. I'm not.
Yes, tangent. Like we learned.
For the record, I'm not. Where is Alan? Didn't he say he'd be here at like 4:45?
Shadow Kaioli.
Oh, there we go.
Smash.
Alan should be joining a VC right about now.
Tell the players to also join here.
Yep. Join. So we get to talk to the players before the game, I assume. Okay.
Okay, I'll pin all of them.
And there's Alan in the lobby. Get him in here. There we go. Alan, hello. We are live. There's, for some reason, 18 people already watching.
18 people watching? I think
Yeah,
it's because I promoted it to my math club Discord. I just finished my lesson. It was fun. It was cool.
Should I post this to debate club? Let's do that.
Yeah, you want to do? There's like a ton of club crossovers right now.
Yep.
Yeah, there's like.
I don't feel good pinging everyone, so I'll just.
I'm gonna ping everyone.
No, I'm not going to, because that's a scummy thing to do.
I ping everyone all the time. I abuse my power within the math chord.
Also, everyone's you're live right now, so everyone's. No.
Yeah, I could tell by how Larry was talking. It's his intonation.
Yeah, I know. I have this, like, I don't even stream, and I have a streamer voice. It's kind of weird.
You have a debate voice.
Is this my debate voice? I guess I feel like I'm more relaxed than I do when I debate. Because when I debate, I'm speaking at light speed, right?
I think you've inherited your debate voice,
Should
and
I-
now it's
should
just
I
your
do a
normal
delay?
voice.
I'm not delay. OBS delay.
You know one of my theories, Larry?
Mm-hmm.
I think that at one point, sometime when you're a young little boy, you like a young little eunuch, all right? You had a non-debate voice.
Called him eunuch? What the hell's wrong with you, man?
What's wrong with eunuch? Eunuch is just it's like even used in Shakespeare. It's an appropriate term. What are you
It's an
thinking
incorrect
about?
use of the word, because eunuch means someone who has had their member forcibly removed,
Yeah.
right? And at that point, it hadn't been removed; it had just not developed. So
What
eunuch would be incorrect.
When I read 12th Night, it said that the book said that it literally meant somebody with like a young boy with girlish voice. They don't need to be castrated. It's just before puberty,
You see,
before
that
their
was
voice
in
cracks.
Shakespeare's time. The meaning of the word has transformed since then. Anyway.
Oh.
By the way, I don't think you need to do OBS stream delay, because Twitch has a natural stream delay,
It's
right?
only 3 seconds. I'm
Yeah,
adding
that's
20
more
seconds
than...
on.
Not how fast-paced Clash Royale is. It's more than...
It's not that fast-paced when at the start, but yeah, you need your attention.
Yeah.
I switched
So
it.
if you're gonna try to stream snipe, you can...
Look at this. Clean. Kinda.
Read.
It's pretty clean.
Yeah.
Oh,
It stopped being clean. Alright, and we're good to go.
can the stream see you fidgeting in OBS?
No.
Yes.
I mean, you can just
Are you-
want to stream it.
Because you're on like laptop, right? No dual monitor setup. Doesn't really matter.
I mean, I can pull it.
I need to pull on my phone to see the participant decks.
Alright. Actually, I should do the same. Where is my phone? Here we go. So, do you know when the matches start? Because I was never given a schedule for this. Is there even a schedule for this?
520.
5:20.
I have
So
no idea
5:20 precisely? We should probably ping the people participating.
I am pull distance. Alright, let Max. Sorry. Bye bye, Max. Hello, Kaden. Bye bye, Kaden.
You should probably let them say something, right? Like introduce themselves.
Okay.
Talk about their
two
decks.
wanna-
Hey, welcome to the stream. You guys are live right now, so
yeah,
broadcasting
what
to
do you
20 people on Twitch.
What do you want?
So first, just do a general self-introduction. Max, you can go first because you got here first.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Max at I'm in grade 12. Yeah.
All right.
And
Short and
Max.
simple. I like it. Caden?
My name's Caden. I'm in grade 11.
Okay.
Good.
How long have
Alright.
you been playing?
I've had my account since like pretty early into the game's release, but I have had lots of breaks since then.
Understandable. Yeah, I think it's the same for me. Yeah. A lot of breaks and getting hooked on again. So who's left? That we haven't introduced.
The four
I think
players.
I think it's
We'll
just
just wait
these
for
two.
them to show up because they don't need to be here yet, technically. So you guys are doing good, showing initiative. Do you want to talk about the decks that you brought to the tournament? So we can flame them, talk about them, discuss.
Jonathan is actually just struggling to get into the VC right now.
Okay.
Oh.
So we'll wait for him for a second. Kevin's going to use exec powers to pull him into the call. And
Boom.
there we go. Jonathan, how's it going? You're
How's it
you're
going,
live
Jonathan?
right now on Twitch. We're talking about just introducing the people who are going to be competing in the finals of our Clash Royale tournament. Why don't you introduce yourself very briefly?
Nice. Are we live right now?
We are live, yes.
Amazing. Okay. Hi guys, my name is Jonathan, and I am a certified Clash Royale sweat.
All right. Love to
There's
see it.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Of course, you would say that, Alan. All right.
No, there's just completely nothing wrong with that. It's all completely fine. It's just a beautiful game.
And that's how you get into
That's a little
horrible
questionable. I can't lie.
Anyways, we're gonna ask you the same thing we asked the other two participants. Firstly, how long have you been playing this game, approximately?
This game, I have my 5-year badge, but I've probably only been playing for like 3 years. I took a pretty big break.
Yeah, same. Everyone has that kind of story. You picked it up in like grade 7,
Yeah,
dropped it
yeah.
for 3 years, picked it up again in high school. Yep. And
Can you guys tell us a little bit about how you prepared for this? Did you prepare at all? Even?
I'll
Played a
go
classic
first.
challenge.
Oh, okay, go.
No, I was just gonna say I played a classic challenge, and that was it.
Did you get 12 wins?
Yeah.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
What?
Some serious competition. Wow.
I did friendly battles with one of my friends who's about the same rank as me, but he quit the game. He's getting back into it slowly but surely, but I think he's better than me. So I was just testing out random decks. I think one of the best strategies to, I guess, prepare for a tournament like this is just to go to leaderboards and just look at the top best decks, and then pick a number between 1 and 1,000, and then you can pick a number between 1 and 1,000 for your opponent. And then you look at the number, you copy their deck, and you play a friendly battle just blind with someone else's deck. I like to do that.
I really like that strategy because a lot of the top level decks, some of them are just completely wild, and there's like a giant skeleton and a wizard, and you're like, what's going on? And sometimes just adapting on the fly like that kind of helps you play your game. All right, I kind of like how you prepared for this.
I think it really helps you learn a lot of the mechanics with cards you may not use, and maybe you'll find like a really good deck that you're good at. Maybe play a Royal tournament with it, or whatever those tournaments are called, and maybe you'll get a few wins, and you'll just keep practicing, and it'll eventually become one of the mains.
All right, sounds good.
Basically, you prepared by learning the matchups for some of the decks that you might encounter, because a lot of decks are very niche, right?
Yeah, I'm guessing since this is top 4, a lot of people will be using classic decks, maybe Ogbait 2.6, or a lot of the classic decks that you might have a lot more experience with.
Yep, and we're going to go over people's decks in just a bit, and you're going to find out how correct your predictions so far have been. Anyone else want to speak up about how they prepare for the tournament? Or just about their place? Yep, go ahead.
Talking about classic decks, I prepared by making my own decks. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty spicy.
But haven't been lucky in the classic challenges. I tried like a few times, and never got more than 3 wins.
I'm looking at your decks right now. I don't know if the other competitors are privy to this information, but they look pretty spicy right now. And I'm really excited to see these decks being used on the field. So even if you don't necessarily win the entire tournament, I think it's still a W in my book.
So Alan's gonna have biased commentary, clearly rooting for one of the competitors. But I agree, the decks are really spicy. We'll go over that in just a bit. Finally, you want to share or?
Should we start right now?
Like, are we going to discuss the decks, or are we just going
to... the matches are going to start at exactly 5:20, so until then, we're going to talk a bit about the decks, do a little analysis. Obviously, the players know their decks better than we do. If you guys want to stay on the call, that's fine, but it's probably in your incentive to keep information about the decks to yourselves, so I don't know about that.
Wait, so we can't talk about other people's decks?
I mean, there's nothing stopping you, right? Like, even if we kicked you out the call, you could just paste messages about it into the chat.
No, right? No, I mean, like, in the VC. If you're gonna... Are you gonna show the decks? I don't quite understand.
Oh yeah, we're gonna show all the decks. Because we think it's unfair if you get absolutely cheesed by a scam deck.
Okay, right? Yeah,
that's a horrible feeling, and we don't want people to have to go through that, especially when this is a big tournament, there's money on the line. So we're going to try and prevent that from happening. But of course, you're not going to be able to know how to play against the deck just from seeing it. So we think this is still fair to people who are trying to use a more niche deck to catch their opponents off guard.
No, I would be able to do that, but maybe not some of these competitors.
Okay, Alan. Okay. Anyway, so let's start by pulling up the decks of the first competitor. Is there anyone who wants to volunteer for tribute? Maybe explain their decks, their thought process in picking their decks? And if not, we'll just do it ourselves. We'll go through the list of decks. And,
You know what could be good? The other option is that me and Larry are in here and we spread some rumors. We say some hot chi-chi and we talk our stuff. We talk our talk about the decks and we don't pull back punches.
Wow. I feel like I'd get hit pretty hard with that.
It's alright. I'm looking at the deck. I'm looking at the decks right now. I overplayed that. They're all good. They're all good. So.
Yeah, you just had to rescind what you said because you realized that you would just be targeting me. Right?
No, there's no. Well, how could you say that? No, there's no way. I wasn't saying that. All right.
Enough stalling around. Let's show up the decks of the first player. I'm just gonna go in order in the list that they were presented to us. So the first, or Junfu's not here. We shouldn't go over his decks yet.
Let's go left to right, top to bottom. All right.
So the first name is first Jonathan's decks because that's what's been presented to us first, right? Kevin, can you
decks are on the bottom, I think. So let's go top first.
All right, whatever. Graphic's been made. Let's use the graphic. All right, Alan, go for it because you know way more about this game than I am.
Okay, so starting off, everybody, like, the first thing I'm seeing right now is two particular decks. On the side of Junfu's deck stack, we see that there's like a 2.6 elixir cycle over there, and that's just a classic deck. And even now, even though everybody knows it, everybody still has trouble playing against it. And there are particular decks that play better against it, but for some things like P.E.K.K.A. Ram or P.E.K.K.A. Archer Queen, like decks like that often really don't do really well against cycle decks or quicker cycle decks. So it's a really good deck. A lot of spamming potential, a lot of very good defensive potential, and a lot of the offensive power comes from the fact that damage is pretty much inevitable, and you're probably going to get the hog on tower. Consistent damage is good. You have a lot of defensive options. You can cycle really fast, so you can really get to the card that you need really quickly. So there's nothing like outcycling the Musketeer if you're running a balloon deck or anything.
And
overall, it's just a pretty
surprisingly a good defensive tool. I'm one of those players who just uses cards based on their rarity, so I didn't know for the longest while until I faced people running meta decks. And that card can solo, I think, the vast majority of offensive cards. Cannon is really good for defense. So there's a reason this deck has been meta for so long and still works properly. Another thing I want to mention is I'm seeing 4 meta decks right now, and that's a good thing, right? I think that obviously when you're at this stage of a tournament, you don't want to give any opportunity for someone to hard counter your decks. So every single meta deck is extremely balanced, has favorable matchups into a lot of niche decks, and they do okay against the vast majority, if not all, of the decks in the game. Mr. Pioli's here. Hello.
Hello,
Merry
Mr.
Christmas
Pioli.
and Happy New Year to you too. Alright, so P.E.K.K.A. Bridge Spam, I thought this deck was a complete joke because I didn't like poison for the longest time. It actually absolutely tears any sort of strategy that tries to go incredibly defensive. And the defense of this deck is surprisingly good. I always thought of P.E.K.K.A. as an offense tool, but that completely counters things like Royal Giant and Mega Knight, if I remember correctly. It's been a while. And Electric Giant is completely countered by P.E.K.K.A., I think. If I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, and
on the flip side, in Royal, we see him running 2 log bait decks. So clearly he's experienced in that sort of deck archetype, and it's actually my favorite type of deck. It's what I played to get to where I am right now. I don't really have much to say about this. Again, it's a classic deck, been around since the game's release. The classic Knight, Princess, Goblin Barrel, Inferno Tower, all of these cards have been around for so long. I feel like at this point, most players should know the matchup, but are still going to lose to it because of some micro adjustments that you can make during your playstyle. And the newer deck, the one that I didn't see for the longest time because I quit the game before Rascals came out. I re-downloaded it a while back. But the one with Rascals and Prince, I thought this was a meme also. I didn't like guards for the longest time because I thought, like, there's only 3 of them. What are they going to do? Use Scar me instead. But no, they survive through Fireball. They survive log, and if that's what your opponent is trying to use to defend the wave, if they're gonna put a hog rider, for instance, and preemptively put a log to try and bait out a defense, guards work really well against that. So I can see this working really, really well, specifically against what the other people are running. Alan, do you have anything more to say? I'm kind of just going on a tangent.
Well, just a few more things about the P.E.K.K.A. bridge spam. Yeah, you were correct. The P.E.K.K.A. is kind of like a defensive pivot against really large pushes. So really large pushes behind tanks like Mega Knight or like Electro Giant can really be turned against them when you just put down a P.E.K.K.A. and there's really no way to punish it, right? So really, when you're on a defensive option and you're defending against a big wave, putting down a P.E.K.K.A. allows like the defensive elixir to survive, and a lot of these cards are able to be used on defense and turn into offense, which is really, I think, the key point of why P.E.K.K.A. bridge spam is so good, which is that this offensive pressure makes it really hard for anybody to attack at all.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And I finally want to turn our attention to the two decks on the left. I'm going to call these the wild card decks, because personally I haven't seen either of them. I've never met anyone using Royal Giant in the past 100 games I've played, I think. Never met anyone running Bomb Tower or Electro Giant, although maybe that's just because at my rank people are using nothing but meta decks, and it's working for them, right? But anyway, these are two decks that seem like they could work in theory, but I don't know much about them in practice. Clearly, if their players are going to bring them to the tournament, they're decks that they play well with, that are going to win them games, hopefully, that work well against the vast majority of decks. Alan, why don't you talk more? Because I really don't have much to say, other than the fact that they seem like wild cards.
Let's move on to the next two decks.
No, I mean, like, do you have anything to comment about the particular card choices? I saw people commenting that Electro Giant is annoying to face, which...
Absolutely. When you're using, like, when you're losing one of these, like, bait decks, it's, you need to reserve very specific cards like the Knight or the Inferno Tower to combat this Electro Giant. So Royal has to be really careful if they have to pick either one of these decks, and when they're putting out each of these decks, because if Royal picks one of the two cycle decks, one of the two log bait decks, it could turn really bad against them. Yeah,
one last thing that I want to mention. You see, there's discrepancy between the levels of the cards. I'm not sure if we were supposed to see this, but now that we do, I'm going to talk about it. You see, Dutch has his Electro Giant at the lowest level it can be. Epics, you open them and they're level 6 immediately. So maybe that goes... And on the flip side, Royal, in this weird Royal Giants deck, he has everything, almost everything maxed out except for the log. And I think this goes to show that Royal's going to have a lot more experience playing his so-called niche deck than Dutch. So we'll have to see how that, whether or not that swings the tournament in his favor. But yeah, let's move on, because we're kind of running out of time if we plan on running this tournament, ending this tournament at 8 o'clock.
So right now, right off the bat, Moose's decks, they look really creative, and honestly, I'm kind of vibing with them right now. The most meta one is P.E.K.K.A. bridge spam on the top right. Use of minions hasn't really been used recent, and you can see by all the upgrade bars that Moose doesn't really use that deck. But over here on the left, a variation on the log bait that I really enjoy, because instead of the one knight, you have these two tanks, the Ice Golem and the Mini P.E.K.K.A., right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Mini P.E.K.K.A. really has like a ton of defensive potential. I think is really underused because it doesn't really fit on a lot of decks. Well, now that I'm seeing it here with this Barbarian Barrel, I think it has a lot of... Yeah, instead of the log, because that Barbarian could actually be really useful trump card in a lot of times.
Although personally, I find that choice to be relatively questionable. The way I play the deck, I like using the log to get a little bit of chip damage every single time they send something defensively. And Barbarian Barrel doesn't quite reach behind the tower the same way the log does. So maybe one of his opponents could get away with putting something like a princess or something like that behind the crown tower, and that could work against his favor. But yeah, really interesting card choice, and I'd love to see some of the things that he does with this deck. All right.
Now for our less experienced viewers over here, the deck on the bottom right, Swordfish's deck, the deck on the bottom right, you know me, Larry. I love the balloon. I've been using it for a long time. I keep using the Pompeo balloon deck. I keep leveling it up. I'm pretty good at that. That's pretty much the only deck that I regularly use. And the bottom right deck, believe it or not, is actually a really meta deck from, I think the beginning of 2021. I'm not entirely sure, but it at one point was a meta deck, and it still is. You can see the strong defensive potential of Fisherman just pulling in troops. It's just really such a good card, and it's
I actually
really,
can't say I know that because I quit the game before it was released, and I have not met a single person using it because you unlock it in Legendary Arena, and I just got there. So, but I have seen replays of people using it, and it seems to me like power creep in this game is a real factor, and goddamn is this card kind of messed up the way you can use it in defense. Yeah, really creative card. I like it, and I like the deck that he's running. I know a lot of people will call Lumberloon Freeze. That's the brainless, no-skill deck, and it is really annoying to lose to a push that you feel you can't really do anything against because they have a well-placed freeze. But hopefully the fact that the participants know this deck exists and have the knowledge that they need to counter it, hopefully that's going to tailor their plays to make sure that they have the tools proper to not feel like there was nothing they could do against the deck. Right.
Okay, just one more thing before we get to the games. That's the Lumber Loon. You mentioned the Lumberjack Loon freeze combo, and that's a really good point, which is that it sometimes feels annoying, but you have to remember, you can't just think from your side, you have to think from your opponent's side. Think about what they're losing when they're putting down a Lumberjack and a Balloon and a Freeze, right? They're losing a ton of Elixir, and it really gives you good counter push potential when you really just shut down this Lumberjack Balloon, no matter if it even claims one of your towers, and you just have a huge counter attack where you're often up 7 or 8 Elixir, and you can just completely demolish your opponent with like a big momentum push. But yeah, that's about it. Any more comments?
I was going to say more things, but it looked like all the players are ready, and it looks like the viewers are getting ready to prepare to watch the games. So I'll make my final comment that the Musketeer on Moose's deck seems to be level 1, which could indicate a snap decision to change that card. Because we are in tournament format, everything will be level 11. So maybe that's specifically a tech pick against some of the decks that he thinks that he'll be seeing. And I remember correctly, that is really good against log bait decks, and we see one player with 2 log bait decks. So maybe that'll turn the tide against that specific opponent. But other than that, nothing more to say. So let's get straight into the first match. All right.
Yeah, just if they're having technical difficulties while they're transitioning, I like to mention the middle deck of Moose is probably the most exotic, and it's a really good blend of the minor poison chip, and the potential for a huge counter push with Mega Knight, right? This combo of Bomb Tower, Valkyrie, and the Firecracker really provides really good defense potential, along with the Inferno Dragon there to clean up any big troops. It's just an all-around really good exotic deck that nobody's really ever seen before. And I think a lot of the contestants might have a bit of trouble facing against it.
Okay. And yeah, I do want to mention the Archer Queen in the deck. I wasn't going to talk about it, but it feels adequate to bring it up because if I remember, you unlock champions at level 14. So I haven't personally seen any of them in action. And I do know what they do because I browsed over them and I saw they had abilities, which seemed really interesting to me. I don't even know what the UI for that looks like yet because I've never personally used one of them. So you want to talk about that? Because I feel like the vast majority of the people watching aren't going to be at level 14.
I don't want to talk about that because we're about to get into a game here, Larry. And I think
you
that this game...
because every game starts out slow while their opponents are trying each other out. I think we can have a little conversation about this. And just we'll transition into the game when that happens. So,
okay, sounds good. You guys can start now.
Yep. And yeah, if the players could leave the call, because we're gonna obviously we're gonna talk about the game.
We're like, are we on a delay?
I don't know, but you probably want to leave the call because we're gonna say things that are gonna mess with your plays. Obviously, you guys are leagues better than us at the game, because we're commentating and not in the tournament, right? There we go. Players have left. Actually, Caden's still here. Is he playing
for any second now? When the
I guess you can stay here if you're not playing.
Yeah,
any
just
second now.
hear our
Yeah.
commentary live.
So about the champions, do you personally have you used them before? Do you know much about them?
Yeah, I actually have, and one big champion that I've been having trouble using is the Skeleton King. I honestly don't really. I'm honestly really having trouble trying to use it for like any counter push potential or anything. But yeah, Archer Queen is just a really solid card. You spend 1 elixir for it to turn invisible and no troops to attack it and go haywire and like do a lot of damage. So it's really good against like balloons. And we're going right into the game. And Larry, there's the Archer Queen you wanted to see. There's the Slaying Queen there. And
And it looks like both players are going to try and test each other out. No one's going for anything too crazy. Both are going to try and save up the 10 elixir before they make their play. But plays have been made. Bandit on the left side with the Mega Knight on the right. Mega Knight looks like it's about to die. Probably gonna need no more defense, and the Electro Wizard is the perfect counter to that Inferno Dragon. So yeah, looks like no player is at a significant advantage right now in terms of damage, in terms of elixir. Everything's looking even so far. So we'll see if players begin to make some moves, and the move has been made. Offensive Miner to defend the Musketeer, but the Battering Ram is going to activate the King Tower because of the Musketeer. Yep, great defensive plays have been made. And I'm going to let you talk a bit about the sort of macro of the match.
yeah, really, we saw that early Bandit, and that did a lot of damage. And this like Mega Knight Inferno Dragon push really just got shut down. So really asserting their Swordfish asserting their dominance in the first match here, and it's looking really bad for.
Yeah, the Archer Queen, it's invisible, it's going to get tons of damage, while the Mega Knight makes its way down the side. Was that a misclick or a cycle? We may never know, but it seemed that it didn't do all that much. So the Mega Knight is going to connect with the tower. P.E.K.K.A.'s going to come down a little too late. Still, Mega Knight's not going to get too much damage, and it does seem still that Swordfish is going to be dominating in this game. Let's see what defense.
Huge elixir lead,
yep.
huge damage lead, just all around, just.
And that bomb tower placement gonna I don't know if that was intentional or not, but the P.E.K.K.A. is not going to target it. He has the crying log emote. Definitely not intentionally. You definitely don't want to lose your tower there. So I think this game can be come back from. There are definitely ways to do it, but with 40 seconds left, it's looking more and more bleak. By the second, 4 moves, who are struggling to, or not struggling to defend, but struggling to do anything with the elixir that he has left. That Miner is going to get a little bit of damage in, but it's not enough. Archer Queen going to do its thing. Looks like it's going to be possibly a 3-crown game as Moose desperately tries to defend. His tower is going to live with 2 health, but I'm pretty sure the... I don't remember what spells the deck was running. I think that it should have some way to finish off the tower. Ultimately, though, it's not even going to matter. 5 seconds left. And yeah, it seems like Swordfish is going to take game number 1. And there's the zap, just to rub it in, just to take that tower.
And if I'm Moose here, I would just, if I'm Max here, I would just be taking a second and saying, well, that was just like a few minor mistakes that snowballed into a really big one. You know,
Yeah.
with the P.E.K.K.A. bridge spam, it's really easy to do that. And
You
it's
gotta
really
pay
not a good
attention to
matchup. You know, you got the P.E.K.K.A. against the Mega Knight, which and you got the Electro Wizard to deal with the Inferno Dragon, which is really the only counter to the really only good counter, hard counter to this P.E.K.K.A. So really, just if I were Moose, I would just try my best to rub it all off and say, well, that was just like a fluke. It won't happen again. I'm just going to gather my mental and just go into this next game feeling good, feeling confident,
So
and
far,
just knowing the chances were turned against me. Go on.
It looks like Moose has switched to using his own P.E.K.K.A. bridge spam deck, and the Royal Guards are going to come down. I've always thought that card wasn't too good, because I didn't like the concept of this crazy expensive card that doesn't even do pretty much in a single lane. But it looks like that card is actually really good. I've seen it used in many ways in the past couple of weeks while I'm preparing to cast this tournament. So let's see how this match is going to progress.
Yeah. And the big appeal of the card is that it's just a ton of stuff. It's just stuff on the board. And it's really hard to get rid of because they all have shields, and shields suck.
Yeah, oftentimes I've found that if your opponents use that to defend your whatever push you're trying to create, you're going to let the two guards on the other side of the map slip through, and those are going to do some really big damage. So yeah, I've come to like the card. I think it's really versatile. It's a really good card. And let's see how the plays are going to go. No significant damage on any tower, even Elixir, but the Musketeer is going to come down on the lane. Magic Archer going to be able to defend that as it walks down the lane. Swordfish is looking to... Yeah, the Fisherman, we talked about this. One of my first times seeing the card. Gonna activate this King Tower, unfortunately, for Moose. Let's see if that plays into any significant way. And
that
yeah,
was
minions,
definitely calculated.
definitely, yeah. Absolutely. You always want to try and activate your King Tower early. Get that extra defense. Could mean win or lose in a game like this, where small mistakes slowly snowball into win or lose. Both players, again, going to try and prepare for some sort of big push, saving up to 10 Elixir. We see the P.E.K.K.A. on the left side for Moose. Royal Guards in the back for Swordfish. Both players not really doing anything, want to wait for their opponent to make the first move. We've talked before about how in this game you really want to try and make it a defensive push, use your defensive cards and whatever remains of them to do most of the attack damage in this game, because then you're even in Elixir and you're up on damage. So yeah, it's probably a really good strategy to wait out your opponent. But we see the balloon coming down and it looks like it's going to get a shot off even with the minions. Yeah, the balloon does manage to deal significant damage to the tower, and that could be what turns the tide of this game, because with just 20 seconds left, one more balloon push might be just what it takes to do it.
Wow, it's just some A-class, S-class Clash Royale here. The early King activation, the Royal Recruits just shutting everything down, the Fisherman in the middle of the river. It's just all perfectly planned. Just shut down moves.
And that Royal Guards as close to the bridge as possible to go back and do defense while their companions go on to do the attack. The balloon in the other side of the lane, I personally don't know much about that push. Looks like he was trying to get around the minions, and that freeze is going to make it so that his balloon is able to get at least one shot off, and now he's up on damage on both towers. So if he ever has to, he's not going to have to go through the 2-count, but now his opponent has to be wary of defending both lanes, and you always got to have some Elixir in the tank. So he's basically prevented his opponent from being able to make some sort of crazy plays to try and rush down one tower. So really smart strategic play, I feel, putting the balloon on one side, because he knows that if he put the balloon on the side that with the tower with lower HP, his opponent would have gone crazy trying to defend that. It probably would have worked. He probably wouldn't have gotten any significant damage. But we finally see Moose getting some damage on the left tower. Yeah, that push ultimately ended up successful. Let's see if the balloon on the right side is going to be able to do anything. Desperate snowball, but the freeze on the tower is going to be... Yeah. It's game 2 going to Swordfish, and I believe the first couple of rounds are a best of 3, so that means that the set is ultimately going to go in the favor of Swordfish. Well played to both of these players, making some absolutely incredible plays, but at the end of the day, you can only have one winner, and that one winner is going to be Swordfish. So again, congratulations to the players, and I think we're going to move on to the second round of the tournament, or second match of the tournament, against our other two not finalists, top 4 players. We'll see if it's going to take some time for them to maybe load up their games, pick their decks.
Well, I'd like a little bit to talk about that game and let it sink in, because that was just a masterclass. The Fisherman placement to activate the King Tower, oh my god, that was some sweet tech, you know?
Yeah, it seems really obvious to do sorts of things like that from an outsider perspective, but you have to understand the sort of thought that went into that. And as someone who has personally attended, well, not Clash Royale tournaments, but who has attended tournaments, there's a lot of thought process that goes into things like building decks. Maybe the Fisherman was purposely there in order for this sort of scenario. Maybe it's better to normally run some other card, or maybe that's just a really good decision in general. Yep. Alan, do you have anything you want to say?
Well, I was just wanting to sink in that game because I feel like one of the biggest mistakes that was made on the side of Max, the few of the mistakes that were few and far between, were that the big P.E.K.K.A. placements to defend against the Royal Recruits. And I think that a lot of the time, you should be able to just, when you're playing a deck like that, with that much offensive potential, you should be able to just ignore some of the Royal Recruits and not have to place down a P.E.K.K.A right in front of your tower every time to defend against 2 or 3 of them. And I feel like a lot of the time that Max was pushed into panic plays. He didn't really know what to do, and if I'm being honest, a lot of the times I felt like I was really helpless in the hands of the Royal Recruits and the Lumberjack Balloon. It was just all a cascading wave of damage, and it was just such a masterclass.
And especially in a tournament setting like this, stakes are high, the pressure is on, and you're bound to, like, players who aren't trained in this sort of thing or don't have lots of practice in the game are bound to slip up and make some mistakes. So yeah, the fact that you're able to make smart, calculated plays in an environment like this just goes to show the skill that these players have. And we're going to move on to the second set of the tournament. Yeah, both players, again, starting off sizing each other up, trying to cycle it out. And we see the Mother Witch in the back dies to Fireball. I'm not too sure about the Mother Witch in the back. Do you want to talk about it? Because it's another card that's relatively new. I haven't encountered it, yeah.
Well, for our newer Clash Royale viewers over here, and Larry, Mother Witch is a card that has like really good potential against swarms. If a big Skarmy is coming down the board, you can place down a Mother Witch, and everything that the Mother Witch kills turns into a small hog that goes to the other, that targets your opponent's towers and buildings.
It seems to me like it's the ultimate comeback card. Is your opponent has a swarm coming down, you can instantly turn that into your own offense with just a 4 elixir card. So yeah, we'll see how that's in the overall in this. We finally see the first big push coming out from both players. Electro Giant from Dutch, Royal Giant from Royal JJ. Let's see how this turns out. Royal Giant going to get significant damage, and I don't think the Mother Witch is the card for this scenario. Royal Giant looks like it's going to be able to take down the tower, but you have to understand that there's this Electro Giant coming down. It's not doing damage yet.
It's just going to get shut down, Larry.
Right now.
That was just a big
and now
mistake.
he has to. The stream is actually lagging for me, so I can't quite see what's going on.
Well, I'll just take over from here. Somehow, you know, Dutch gets a cannon card on a tower, and that's just a questionable defensive move from Royal JJ over there. And really, it was perplexing how they were able to convert like an Electro Giant into some backward supporting cards, eventually taking down the tower. Somehow they managed to make it work, so it's a really nice save for Dutch over there. But placing down the Royal Giant when there was a Dark Prince and there was the Fisherman coming down the board, it was just a questionable decision, especially with the Royal Giant there. Isolating the support card so that you were able to kill off the Electro Wizard so much easier. It was just a questionable decision all around. And
honestly, we're back. Let's talk about the current plays. So again, both players putting up their big cards in the back, setting up for their big push, and that's going to give time for their opponents to defend, so no one's getting significant damage. Yet, that cannon card is going to defend the Royal Giant really well. I don't know if that was intentional, maybe a mistake, maybe an extremely calculated play. We may never know, but it looks like, yeah, the Fisherman's going to defend the Royal Giant, the bridge, and both players, again, even in elixir, even on damage. So it looks like so far this match has gone incredibly well, even for both players. Yeah, both are going to, again, save up for their big cards. Yep, go ahead.
That cannon card was key. It really was able to shut down the Royal Giant before it really did anything. That predictive fireball
misses. No, that could be the thing that turns the tide in the game. You hate to see it. But, Mother Witch has about approximately 0 HP, so Dark Prince gonna take it out instantly, and we have the Royal Giant
gonna get a lot of value.
But the Royal Giant also has to. Oh, the cannon card's not dead yet, and why would you kill the cannon? Maybe it's a defensive move to try and prevent any damage from happening on your side. Might be a good play. We may never know. And it looks like that missed fireball gonna cost them some damage on the King Tower, but ultimately not going to not going to cost him the tower, not going to cost him the game just yet. Looks like
triple elixir.
Yeah,
and it's so tight. I'm sweating, Larry. I'm sweating from my brow. I'm sweating from my armpits. I'm just sweaty all around, and it's really getting tense here. The Royal Giant's in the middle, really just taking a toll on the Princess Tower over there. And
you
when
want to see the Electro Giant, desperately defends, or not desperately, defends well with the Tesla. Now has to deal with the second one. And this triple elixir really is making some making this match intense.
That
You're gonna have to
fisherman
make
was
some
cooking.
crazy plays like the Tesla in the corner to try and defend the Royal Giant. 30 seconds left, and we'll see if Royal JJ manages to get some tower damage onto the I forget what they're called, Princess Tower, right? Because the way it's looking, if both players
80%.
defend, then Royal JJ is going to lose the tiebreaker because of the damage on his King Tower. And yet, looks like that's going to be the case. 10 seconds left, not much he can do. The cannon cart, Key Play gonna soak up that damage. Bomb Tower, again, going to soak up the damage. And yeah, you said before how that cannon cart was so incredibly influential in this match, being able to basically prevent the Royal Giant from doing its job properly.
It was just the key damage dealer, Larry, and it was just able to take down these large Royal Giant placements in the worst of times, smack dab in the middle of the board with no time to react, and able to turn it into an advantageous situation. With the cannon cart moving down the board, it was just a lot of pressure, and both players used a similar tactic to avoid damage from the Giants, as you saw. They were both pulling the Giants around.
One with Tornado and one with Fisherman.
And it actually backfired for Royal JJ there. Or, sorry, was it Dutch?
Because that damage on his King Tower ultimately led to him losing the tiebreaker at the very end, and it cost him the game.
Yeah,
although ultimately,
when you pull the Electro Giant without any mechanism to, just kill it, it's just gonna backfire on you. And the damage on the King Tower, we saw in the end, they put the Fishermen down and they were about to drag it, and they look at their King Tower's health, and they go, oh no, and they have to put down the Tesla in the back right corner.
So you really have to pay attention to everything in this game. Although personally, if I had to choose one play that ended up being the deciding factor, it would actually be the unfortunate missed fireball on the Mother Witch from Royal JJ, because it meant that he had to put his Dark Prince down to defend because his towers were focused on the Giant. Right. So anyway, we're going to head back into the second match, and it looks like both players have switched their decks. One's running the 2.6 Classic Hog Cycle, the other running the Classic Log Bait deck that includes Inferno Tower. So yeah, matchup that you could have seen 5 years ago. Both players are probably going to be extremely experienced using these decks, considering they've been around for so long. And yeah, again, both players sizing each other up, except this time they both know what the other wants to do because they've been playing this game for years, and they know exactly what each other's decks has the capability to do.
And it's just vintage versus vintage, old school versus old school. You just love to see it. We're turning back the clock now to 2016, or not 2016.
I'm not sure I like that log at the bridge from Dutch here, because it's going to matter a lot when you're playing against a deck whose name is Log Bait, I feel. Right? Whereas Royal JJ, on the other hand, doesn't really have to worry about having much to log. I know it can be useful to prevent the Hog Rider from getting one hit, and that like couple hundred damage can matter in a lot of situations, but it's probably gonna matter a lot more against a Goblin Barrel. Dutch managing to catch that sneaky Goblin Barrel in the back.
Absolutely red.
One that I fall for all the time. So props to him for being better at the game than I am. But yeah.
Well, it's not a very hard thing to do.
Oh, shut up, Alan. Moving on. Both players, again, saving up their elixir, trying to make some sort of big play. Either that or trying to react to something their opponents are doing and end up winning some free damage, basically, with the counter push. Inferno Tower going to block the Hog, and the Fireball is not going to be enough to take it out, so I'm not quite sure why that happens. Log going to get extra free value with that Ice Spirit at the bridge. But now he's devoid of the log and has to desperately try and use cards to defend, and going to take damage on his King Tower. So yeah, Royal JJ making some good plays with the deck, getting chip damage in, exactly what the deck was meant to do. But it looks like this Fireball log is going to... No, he manages to defend the Hog. No shots in from the Hog. Yep, so great plays all around from both
10 elixir for 10 elixir to just try to get the Hog on the tower, and they just can't. Because whenever the Inferno Tower goes down, yes, it's 5 elixir for 4 elixir, but unfortunately, they're playing 2.6. They don't really have a really solid plan to exploit that elixir disadvantage. And Royal JJ will always be able to get their elixir back. Oh my
Oh,
god.
but the Goblin Barrel are going to be able to defend that with the Ice Golem, but it's still going to get crazy damage. And is that going to take his tower? It's
good
not.
game.
But the
It's
Rock
good game,
is
Larry.
going to. And yes, well played by Royal JJ. Again,
Absolute masterclass.
Yeah, you
you
were
could
talking
see he
about-
was just sort of mocking him with the way he played. Oh my god, that was beautiful.
And you were talking about how the Inferno Tower, losing Elixir on the Inferno Tower trade, basically playing Inferno Tower against nothing but a hog. Technically, yes, it loses you Elixir, but like you said, that's the cycle deck. It's kind of a blessing and a curse. You can send multiple hogs at the same time, but in this case, you don't want to because you're going to send it straight first into an Inferno Tower, straight first into a Fiery Doom. So yeah, looks like players are going to switch up their decks and try and find something else that works, and we'll see how this game progresses. You want to talk about like the decisions players make? Because again, I'm
It's
not really
1-1
too
right now,
familiar
right?
with that.
They're going to game 3.
They are going to game 3, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 1 each so far, if I'm not mistaken.
Alright, sounds good. So, right now, from what I've seen, what's the only deck left, actually? And I want to go check that. Let me go on my phone and check that, because they've put out their vintage decks, they've put out their giant decks, and they've only got a few decks left. Here, let me see. Yeah, we're actually going to see it right now, so I'm not going to look for it.
Yep, let's make this a surprise just because we have horrible memory. So again, the log straight out the gate, not sure if that's a good play. You don't know if your opponent is playing a deck that, you know, you might need to save the log for. Because again, the log, I think, is one of the best cards in the game, even like 5 years later, even after so much power creep. Because it's just so versatile, it defends like half the swarm cards, or basically, yeah, half the swarm cards in the game. And it looks like, yeah, it's going to be another meta deck versus meta deck, not necessarily vintage decks, because they're running, Royal JJ has those Rascals, Dutch, he has, I don't know what's a new card actually, is, are like Bandit and Magic Archer still considered new cards, because I didn't know about them. But that Prince is just going to barely not connect with the tower, perfectly timed Electro Wizard, still not going to get a shot off, and so Dutch is behind on damage and Elixir, but it looks like he's going to be able to better defend now that he knows what his opponent wants to do, and that's using the Prince to tank for either a Goblin Barrel or a Dark Goblin to get in that chip damage, if I remember correctly. Alan?
Yeah, absolutely. You're correct. You're 100% correct. Right now, they're just trying to chip each other's towers down, and right now what Dutch is looking for is a big commitment. Unfortunately, I don't think any big commitment is going to come out of Royal JJ over here. They're just going to go for small pushes that ultimately don't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things.
I just want to mention those guards tilted just to the side to prevent the Magic Archer from getting damage on the tower. I always mess up when I'm doing that. And, but it looks like Magic Archer's going to get damage on the tower anyways. Log is going to prevent that. Oh, and going to get damage on, chip damage on Dutch's tower. So yeah.
Oh my god.
Looks like it's just been outplay after outplay from Royal JJ. And you have to keep in mind, this is the man who brought 2 log bait decks to the tournament. So obviously knows the ins and outs of this style of deck. Really comfortable with playing log bait decks. Electro Wizard and the Zap, not something you see every day. You 6 Elixir to defend a 3 Elixir card, but the counter push is going to be, yeah, it's going to be tough to deal with. Never mind, I was wrong, not that tough to deal with. Princess is going to get poisoned, Magic Archer getting logged. Yeah, so it looks like Royal JJ is up in Elixir basically all the time. Dutch, play of getting yourself an Elixir down might have worked for Royal JJ in the last game with the Inferno Tower, but I'm not so sure about that in this game. Always using like poison on the Princess, it's ultimately going to cost you, right? The P.E.K.K.A. in a really bad spot here, gonna have to slowly walk around, but the Bandit is going to solve that, instantly murdering that poor Dark Goblin. But it looks like it's not going to be enough. That Goblin Barrel gonna get some damage in, and yet it looks like Royal JJ is absolutely dominating all throughout this game.
Giving up here.
Although you have to understand that the bridge spam deck is the one that does the best in overtime. Never mind, I should stop talking. The Rocket is going to win Royal JJ the game. So yeah, commentator's curse, I guess. I was just going to say how Dutch could make a comeback, and the game is over. So
Yeah,
congratulations.
it might just be because you suck, Larry, but it might be commentator's curse as well. So, just a lot of dynamics there, and you have to remember one of the things we were mentioning when we were first looking at the decks, which is that Royal JJ is bringing 2 bridge spam decks to this game, and
no, 2 log bait decks. rather.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. That I think of Bridgespan whenever I think of log baits. Yeah, so 2 log bait decks was really swarmy cards, and you can see that it really when Dutch chose their Royal Giant, when the Dutch chose their Electric Giant deck, it wasn't with any of the log bait decks. So it really kind of backfired on them when their best counter to it was just not picked with the decks. So they had a 2 in 3 chance of picking the log bait into the Electro Giant, and they just got lucky. Royal JJ just got lucky with the 1 in 3 chance. Then again, there was the Dark Goblin. There were some long-range versatile cards that you could use and arguably counter the Electro Giant. But honestly, it was a bit of luck and mostly skill over there. So congrats to both players. Really amazing games out of them. And we're going to be moving on to the next stage of the bracket.
Yep, and I just want to mention, if it truly was just luck that was the deciding factor in the game, Dutch is going to be able to get the run back if he manages to make it out of losers, because this is actually a double elimination tournament. So, Alan, why don't you explain how that works? Because there might be some people watching who don't know what double elimination means.
So here's how double elimination works. Everybody has a chance in double elimination to lose up to 2 times. And once you lose 2 times, you're out. So, first, over here, you can see on the bracket on your screens right now, on Challenge, you can see that the losers are now paired with each other on the lower half of the bracket. And once they win, there's going to be one winner from that. And who are they going to face? They're going to face the loser of the next winner's match. So for the winner's final in the top half, we can see Royal JJ and Swordfish. They're going to be duking it out. And the loser of that match is going to be facing the winner of Dutch and Moose. So these players are going to have a second chance to show off their decks and their ability, and show off some of their tech that we saw there with the King Tower activations. So if anybody's rooting for any particular player, don't go yet, because we still have a lot of Clash Royale to play.
I think this bracket actually isn't made correctly because there is no losers final. Remember, everyone is still in the tournament even after losing once, and the player who does get to never mind it. Oh yeah, it's straight to winners final because this is top 4. I'm bad at thinking.
How it works? You look at the semi-finalists, right? That's the winners finals. Royal JJ versus Swordfish. That's how it works. And the loser of that goes to losers finals, and then both the winner and the loser are paired in 2 finals, right? If the winner of the losers finals wins, well then both players have 1 loss, right? So nobody gets eliminated. So they just run back the entire thing and they play another final. That's how I learned this from like watching Smash Melee. But
yeah, same. Oh, you watch Melee? Oh, interesting.
Yeah, dude.
Really small community, and one that I'm interested in too.
It's not small anymore, but it's still pretty small.
It is definitely small. If you see like random games being posted on YouTube, Smash games have hundreds of thousands of views. Melee games
there were
have
70,000 concurrent viewers for Smash Summit 12. Larry, you uncultured swine.
All right, whatever.
It's alright. Unless you're in the community, you don't really see how big it is. But yeah, I don't really fault you for that. You probably only watch a Wombo Combo one. You'll probably only think of Ken and Asin of the modern day players. But
I'm sorry, I watched during the era of the 5 gods. I still remember H-Box dominating. Anyways, moving on because no one knows what we're talking about.
Yeah, we should just move on.
Yep.
Okay, so let's look at our next matchups here, and let's look at the decks that they're running over here. I have them on my phone. What are we going to be looking at?
The same, but now that we've seen every single deck being used, we might be able to understand what each deck is looking for and what the win condition of each deck is and how they're going to face up against each other, because that's really relevant in the coming match.
Now, let's just think back on Moose's decks right now, because one of his most interesting decks that I looked at that I complimented wasn't actually used because he lost in 2 rounds, unfortunately. So right now, yeah, this is good. We're looking at Moose's deck. That deck on the top left over there that the viewers can see right there, with a Barb Barrel as a substitute for the log, right? And the Mini P.E.K.K.A. and the Ice Golem serving as 2 tanks over there, rather than the Ice Spirit. So this deck is actually a bit more expensive than the normal one, but it still serves really nice defensive options. You have the Inferno Tower for big things, pushes, and you also have the Mini P.E.K.K.A. for it. So a lot of answers to whatever potential like Electro Giant that's going to come out from Dutch there. And if we take a look at Dutch's decks over here, I don't know if we can get that quickly. Thank you. So if we take a look at Dutch's decks, you still have that Electro Giant over there on the top left, and Dutch was really unlucky to not have it paired up with any of the bait decks, because it would have been a pretty good, even may I say, defensive pivot in order to like mitigate some of like these really sparse pushes over here, and really turn it into a nice counter push that really takes both towers.
Yeah, because if you can get Mother Witch on the what is it, Goblin Barrel, Goblin Gang, even the guards, you can turn that into some big damage in your way. So yeah, really unlocking the Dutch's side.
Anti-storm deck.
Yeah, and I want to go back to the other deck you were talking about, the one that we didn't get to see, unfortunately, with the Barbarian Barrel. And I want to focus on the Mini P.E.K.K.A. instead of the Knight, because I feel like with tech choices like that, you're going to be a lot more focused on trying to provide counter pushes, right? So you're going to use the Mini P.E.K.K.A. on defense to maybe counter something like the Hog Rider, right? And you're going to force your opponent to deal with something that is a lot more challenging to deal with, because again, Knight on your tower, at most you're not going to lose your tower, whereas Mini P.E.K.K.A. has the capability to just instantly wipe out your tower. Well, not instantly, but it has the capability to take down your tower like it's made of butter, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, are we going
like
to
butter.
jump? Yep. Like a hot knife through butter. That was the phrase I'm looking for. I'm good at English.
Like a 1,000-degree knife in a Mr. Gear video through any inanimate object.
That is an extremely specific reference that I do not understand. No. Anyways, moving on to the game. We don't know what decks either player are using yet, but it looks like it's going to be Dutch versus Moose. So this is going to be, I believe, the losers bracket, losers round 1. Yep. So straight out the gate with his bridge spam deck, the Battering Ram isn't going to connect, and the Bomb Tower actually the perfect card to defend against Battering Ram. So yeah, looks like Moose is going to be able to defend wave 1 properly. I don't think the Bandit is going to be able to get any damage because of that Bomb Tower. Oh, never mind. Okay, so Bandit going to get some chip damage in. Dutch is winning in damage, but Moose is going to be able to finally have a counter push of his own. Never mind. He's crying. Looks like he thinks he's made a mistake, but this game is definitely still winnable. So yeah, light exchanges being thrown around. Never mind. P.E.K.K.A. in the back means that the Mega Knight is going to need some serious backup if it wants to connect with the tower, because again, P.E.K.K.A. just shreds through that thing, and I don't think a Firecracker is going to be enough, if I'm being completely honest, especially if his opponent poisons it. But no, he's going to be able to cycle to Inferno Dragon, which would be good if his opponent didn't have Electro Wizard, which is unfortunately the perfect counter to that.
I think the
Bomb Tower is going
right now.
Yeah, he has to choose between defending the Bandit or the P.E.K.K.A. Chooses the P.E.K.K.A., meaning that the Bandit is going to be able to get significant damage on the tower. And yeah, it looks like this is Dutch's game to win. They're even in Elixir, but he's up in damage on both towers so far.
Yeah.
Let's see if Moose can turn this around.
Yeah. So right now, both players just chilling out. And from what we've already seen, Moose has a tendency to kind of over-defend, if I may. Where they put down too many cards, or they put down too much elixir, such that the 2-lane pressure is just too much sometimes. And
let's just talk about
putting
that
down the Inferno Dragon up there.
Inferno Tower. Yeah, Inferno Dragon, unfortunately, going to be countered perfectly by the Electro Wizard again. Yeah, and as we see, his tendency to over-defend is going to cost him. Maybe it's him trying to set up for something big so he can win this game, but that Mega Knight is ultimately looks like it's going to be defended because his opponent manages to cycle back to the P.E.K.K.A. Unfortunate all around for him. Could just be his deck gets countered by his opponents. Yeah, the E-Wiz for the Inferno Dragon, the P.E.K.K.A. for the Mega Knight. There's really not much you can do at this point. P.E.K.K.A. barely not connecting to the tower, but again, he's still down in elixir, he's still down in damage. No big plays have been made thus. Turning point in the match? Never mind. I'm actually lagging. The stream's lagging for me. I don't know if it's lagging for you.
I'll just take over there, don't worry.
Okay.
So right now we can see just Moose falling into the same trap putting their Inferno Dragon right at the bridge so that the Electro Wizard can just reach them from across it. And I'm not really liking that play right now. I'm going to directly call them out on that play because I think that a lot of the Electro Dragon placements have been pretty abysmal right now. And Dutch is able to just zap it away, use their Electro Wizard on it. And we saw the zap backfiring in the earlier match with the log bait when they didn't have a log at all. So, but in this particular match, the zap actually comes as an advantage because when you have that zap, you can just interrupt that Inferno Dragon and stop it from really heating up too much and just stall for long enough so that you can get 1 or 2 swings or be able to break through their defenses and be able to get some of your lower elixir units on it, like bandits.
Alright, so my Wi-Fi is finally back, and it looks like this game is still heavily in Dutch's favor, but Moose managed to get some damage on the tower. I don't know how that happened. Probably was the minor poison, which we see doing significant damage on the tower here, but it's ultimately not going to be enough, especially when your precious Mega Knight is going to get slaughtered to pieces. Now, Moose rather, is going to have to defend, but we've seen him do that. We've seen him do that well multiple times. Looks like he might not be able to pull it out, especially if you put a Mega Knight on a P.E.K.K.A. It's going to work out for him, but he's taken damage because the battering ram connected to his tower. So yeah, if this game ends up coming down to the 2 crown in, it looks like it's going to go in Dutch's favor. Never mind, I didn't notice the time. Looks like there's what, like 10 seconds left in the game. So yeah, if it does come to the tiebreaker, Moose has to do something.
And I think a miracle might happen, never mind.
Oh, and Moose is doing something. The minor poison gets 2 swings in and no more. And this game is going to go to Dutch. So well played by both players. I personally think that it was just the P.E.K.K.A. that completely countered the Mega Knight. Ewiz completely counters Inferno Dragon. And at that point, you're heavily unfavored to win the game. So yeah.
Yeah, the odds are really stacked against you. I thought I would have, if I were Moose over there, I would have employed a strategy where like I would just send miners to different parts of the tower so that they can never predict it. And I just keep annoying them with this miner cycle. And I just keep playing on defense so that whenever a big push comes, that's when the Mega Knight has its advantage. It's sort of like a really big fireball with even more area damage, where you can just drop it on the Electro Wizard, and even though the P.E.K.K.A. is gonna, in like 10 or 20 seconds, demolish the Mega Knight, you're still gonna be allowing your Inferno Dragon to heat up and eventually take down this P.E.K.K.A.
Right.
So I think
I thought it was versatile because it did seem to have lots of win conditions. Right, the minor poison, he tried to pivot and ultimately ended up being too late. I think if we played 3 games with the exact same deck, he might have been able to turn it around. But we're on to different deck, and that play is going to cost
not a lot actually.
To cost them, not a lot, yeah, because the skeletons are going to defend, and Goblin Barrel doesn't really do. Yeah, but it is a statement that this is something you have to watch out for. You better, like, pay close attention to any Goblin Barrel I send, and maybe, just maybe, that could cause him to not pay enough attention to the opposite lane, right? And cause him to miss, I don't know, something that needs to be defended. But it looks like we're going to see this classic matchup again: the Goblin Bait, the Goblin Barrel Log Bait versus the 2.6 Hog Cycle. And again, we're seeing that Inferno Tower defending the single Hog Rider. So yeah, completely shutting off any damage potential that Dutch has from the his Hog Rider.
Yeah, and the one thing that we haven't seen come out of Moose right here is the mini P.E.K.K.A. and there it is. That's what I was waiting for, is the mini P.E.K.K.A. countering the Hog right there, but the placement isn't quite correct. And instead focuses on the Ice Golem, getting a lot of damage. The mini P.E.K.K.A. is coming down the board now. Log not ready for the Goblin Barrel. Huge mistake on the part of Dutch. You can see he's very frustrated about that. Using the log preemptively on a really aggressive hog play really isn't just the staple of 2.6 and really is an aggressive play that's reserved for things like other decks like the P.E.K.K.A. Bridge Spam deck. And right now, just Inferno Towers, they're just so valuable right now. You can just keep cycling them. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, you're just not able to punish, and that log is just such a big mistake. They're going to be able to use the rocket without any repercussions because the hog can't really punish that expenditure of this huge amount of elixir. And yeah, they're just going to be able to get their Oh my god,
Logbait
God
doing what
again.
Logbait does best, forcing him to waste a fireball, so he's down 4 elixir for his troubles. That was an extremely good play from Moose, and it looks like, yeah, he's really proficient in his Logbait deck, getting tons of chip damage and doing things like rocketing the Musketeer, which I used to think was an extremely dumb play until someone did it against me and won. But that aside, yeah, it does look like he's going to
the
Dutch is
double,
going to desperately
the
defend.
double psych out, the backwards log, not able to catch the goblins before they do damage. Oh my god, we're seeing all the psychological plays here. Oh, the Inferno Tower just saying, screw you, no, I'm not gonna let you.
Yeah, denying any damage from the Hog at all. I think most of his damage has been from fireballs so far on the Princess, which again costs you an elixir, and I'm pretty sure Logbait can capitalize on your lack of elixir. If you don't have the ability to cycle to the log, Goblin Barrel is going to get at least a hit on. We've seen that not countless, but we've seen that a couple times before, and it's decided a lot in this game. So yeah, Mini P.E.K.K.A. requiring more defense than Knight, which is why I personally like this, and I'm going to start running it because it seems like a good deck. But looks like
you made the decision to start running it. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Hog is finally going to get some damage in, but it's not enough. The Inferno Tower, yeah, looks like Moose wasn't able to cycle to his Inferno Tower. So yeah, that I think is what Hog Cycle does best. Just like baiting out the first Inferno Tower and cycling to your Hog again before your opponent can get it out. So that doesn't seem like it's going to be the case, especially when you're at triple elixir overtime right now. Opponents always going to have that Inferno Tower in their back pocket. And yeah, it looks like the Rocket is not going to... It's not going to take the tower, but the Goblin from the Goblin Barrel is. So, yep, well played by Moose.
A little bit shaky at the end there, but all-around masterclass. Moose not able to showcase his abilities on this deck earlier, but now that we've seen it, we see it's amazing. We see some amazing play. We see some amazing denial of the 2.6 Hog Cycle. Really just shows that Moose is really proficient in this matchup, and they really understand what they're going up against going into it.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, if you take a deck that was made 5 years ago and everyone's been playing against for years and years, that sort of thing is going to happen. So let's see if the decks this time are going to be relatively newer, contain new cards, contain new meta choices. Players are sitting around at 10 elixir waiting for the first to make a play. So it looks like both of them are going to try and bait out some sort of punish. There's been like 10 elixir leaked across the board already. Really seems like both players want to be the one having the counter push. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not really
a lot of the people on ladder that I play against... Oh, were you about to say something?
No, go ahead.
A lot of the people I play against on ladder, they just really like waiting out, and they have like a witch and a wizard, and they use those cards because they only play during recess. And whenever I'm waiting for them to make a play, and when I just put something down, they just place the counter to it, just running down the board, just kind of mocking me. And it's just really annoying, but it's really good decision making on their part, honestly.
Yeah. And the Goblin Barrel, the Barbarian Barrel rather, is not going to catch the Bandit using that dash perfectly. That's big damage on the other side. I missed the opportunity to say it was Dutch who made the first play with that cannon cart in the back, and ultimately it kind of had to be him because he was the one who was a game down, if I remember correctly. So yeah, he had to be the one who got aggressive, and he did. But it looks like it's going to work out for him. That Mother Witch is going to get some hogs to connect to the tower. Ultimately, not enough though. And but he's up in elixir, and that's going to mean that he has enough elixir to play the big granddaddy Electro Giant, the one who can swarm by himself, gonna make Moose's minions completely useless, or not completely useless, but his P.E.K.K.A. is going to be the ultimate counter to the Electro Giant. Yeah, again, unfortunate for Dutch. It seems like he has his pick completely countered by the P.E.K.K.A. Just a really good defensive card all around. P.E.K.K.A. Going to die if Dutch doesn't do anything, but yeah, he's placing down the bomb tower. I think that would have killed. I don't know, but again, yeah, you can never be too safe. We'll see if he gets punished for that, right?
And okay, right now, even though the P.E.K.K.A. is able to shut down the Electro Giant, you can see that, oh, I don't really like that play. You're just going to be able to just slam down the P.E.K.K.A. and deny it and just say no to them.
And immediately goes the P.E.K.K.A. goes for the Mother Witch first, probably.
Oh my god!
Didn't even notice the
Brazen!
yeah, the Magic Archer on the other side going to like shut down the tower, doing damage from afar. Magic Archer is one of the largest ranges in the game, right?
Oh my god, Dutch is gonna get punished for tornadoing. I don't know if you noticed that, Larry, but Dutch tornadoed the P.E.K.K.A to their side of the field, just so that their Electro Giant can get some damage in on the tower. And that was such a big mistake that they're gonna lose both their towers in the process and not even gonna get one. And we can see it was at 475, not that close, honestly. It was just a big risk play for a push that was easily countered. You know?
Yeah, but when you're a game down, you kind of have to go for those big risks, big rewards.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, especially when you're losing the game and the game down, because it's go big or go home. And if it worked, then it probably would have won him the game. To be completely honest, right? Because he desperately needed that tower to be taken after he saw that notification that his tower was gone, right? So, sad to say, because this is a loser's bracket, that means the loser of this set is going to have to, we're not going to be able to play in the tournament anymore. So, thank you for attending.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think Moose is moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Moose is moving on. Unfortunately, Dutch just choking the bag there. Just too much of a commitment on the. I'm gonna let you do some math here, Larry. Just the Electro Giant is 8 elixir, along with the Mother Witch that's 12 elixir, along with the Tornado pulling the P.E.K.K.A to your side, forcing yourself to defend. That's 15 elixir, and 4 relatively no elixir at all, right? We saw the bandages coming out to defend. Maybe not the minions, but also the Electro Wizard. So that's really 7 elixir. Plus the P.E.K.K.A, that's 14 elixir. And the P.E.K.K.A, you have to remember, it's relatively healthy. It's taken like little to no damage when it's tornado across the field. So they have to spend so much elixir on the defense, so much elixir on the offense for ultimately little gains. I really respect them for making a brazen play there to try to win the advantage and try to assert their dominance and win the game. But unfortunately, Moose just takes the 2-0. And Moose will be moving on to the losers finals.
And now that Dutch is out of the tournament, Kevin, do you want to bring him into the call if he feels comfortable, or if he wants to, basically? So if you want to jump into any call, Kevin's going to pull you into the casting call, or not the casting call, like the exec only call, the one that we have access to. And yeah, we'll see if we're going to talk about some of the plays you made, basically how you're feeling, right? If you're comfortable with that. If not,
yeah, Larry, if you don't mind, I want to ask the first question when he comes in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or maybe he just... I mean, we'll see if Kevin can make that happen. The Madman. Ah, okay. That's completely... Yeah, that's understandable. But if you want to type in chat, we can still, like, try to have some sort of conversation. Just, like, talk about how you're feeling right now.
You want to type in the Clash Royale chat because I don't have Twitch chat open.
The question.
Watch. Join Discord voice channel.
They don't want it. That's all well and good, right? But I don't know what the next match is. Is it going to be? Are we going to see winners round 2, or we have to, right? Because there's nothing for losers finals. The second player hasn't lost yet. What am I saying? Yep. So next, it's going to be the other matchup that we haven't seen yet. It's going to be Logbait Expert, the man running 2 Logbait decks in his arsenal, versus I forget their names. Let me check really quick.
I need to pull up.
Versus the man who's at level 14 and has an Archer Queen. So let's see how that matchup goes.
That's an Archer Queen. Let me see here. Let me navigate to that. Sorry. I have all the decks on my phone right now. Just navigating, just swiping. Alright, so it's Swordfish against, I believe, Royal JJ and Jonathan. So
we actually didn't get to see all of Swordfish's decks. He has that Golem deck in the back pocket, ready to wreak havoc. Yeah.
Yeah, Larry, I don't know if you know this, but that's actually a pretty classic deck. Just the Golem Night Witch just inspires fear in my heart because, as you know, I'm a Balloon player, and the deck I particularly use, I don't know if some of the viewers might recognize this name, is the Pompeo Inferno Dragon Loon deck. where really you don't have any splash damage at all other than a zap and a fireball. And against the Night Witch, that's just a nightmare. You're just gonna have the bats eating away at everything. You're just trying to swat them away, but you're on the ground, and that sucks. And because you don't have any area damage, and your Inferno Dragon is picking them off one by one every minute, and it's just kind of sucks.
So same deal, both players are going to sit at 10 elixir, but the first move has been made for Swordfish extremely aggressive, going to go straight out with the Lumberjack and the Balloon, and it's going to work out. The Balloon is going to get a shot off, and that Dark Goblin is going to get placed, but just to die. So we see Royal JJ, the one over-defending here, yet throwing away 3 elixir and the Dark Goblin, which is an extremely effective tool against again, doing all sorts of defense, doing big damage. You can have some sort of tank. Yep. So we're going to see the Fisherman come down the lane. Guards going to yeah, I think guards are going to be able to defend it, and guards are going to move on, maybe get some chip damage, but nothing too big so far.
Yeah, the Dark, you're completely right about the Dark Goblin. It's one of the most important matchups in this deck, because the Royal recruits, they're able to get whittled down really quickly by big range and the big damage output of the Dark Goblin when you just place them in the middle. The Royal recruits are usually just too slow to reach Dark Goblin, and you can see right here, there it is, the Dark Goblin just in the middle, just whittling away at every single one of these recruits, just not taking any damage at all, in his comfort zone, in the groove, you know?
Right.
Go on.
He's going to, looks like he's going to be able to get chip damage on the left side tower, but it's nothing compared to the balloon damage that we've seen already happen. So just that first aggressive play really worked out for Swordfish, going to mean that Royal JJ has to make sort of aggressive plays if he wants to be able to catch up, or rather outplay his opponent every twist and turn, which I don't think is likely, seeing that we're in not grand finals, but we're really far into the tournament, right? So yeah, looks like the balloon is going to come down again. The rocket is going to hit both the balloon and the musketeer. That's good value. Swordfish agrees, gonna have to say well played. Yep. And we see that yeah, we're going to see a really smart play from, I think, Royal JJ, using the Prince to kind of tank for the Princess, so the Princess can continue doing what it does best, getting that chip damage in, or rather forcing out the Lumberjack that Swordfish probably wanted to use to enrage the balloon, right?
Yeah.
So, really smart plays all around. Go ahead, Alan.
Now that we're looking at this matchup in more detail, we can see that the rocket always denies the balloon. There's nothing against that. The rocket always denies the balloon. There's no miner to try to tank it
again.
Yeah, it's just crippling. As a balloon player myself, it's really hard for Swordfish to get any damage on the tower. And since they got the early lead, what I would be doing right now is I would be trying my hardest to try to keep this lead and try to not lose anything. I would just play really defensive, not really go on the offensive, because I'm probably going to get punished. But maybe
on the contrary, I would argue that the best defense is a good offense, right? Especially if the counter to balloon is going to be rocket, because that loses you an elixir. I think the best, sending balloon at the bridge is actually a good play if you know the only thing your opponent can do to defend it is the rocket. So yeah, it looks like though Royal JJ going to carve himself back some damage. That chip damage really starting to add up because he's ahead in damage on the left side tower. Yep.
Yeah. Those rascals coming down to shepherd this princess over, and the princess is just going to lock onto the musketeer, and it's just going to be so unfortunate. Oh my god, so much damage, down to 3 digits, and it's just looking dire right now, Larry. It's just looking dire for Swordfish right now, not really able to get anything on the tower, not really able to time these balloons pushes, not really having any sort of counterplay ability other than this balloon. That's really the only winning condition here, and we're going to see it again. We're going to see the rocket. Oh my god.
So it looks like to me that he's going to I might have to stop talking because the Goblin Barrel is going to mean that his tower's at 159 health. One rocket should do it, so if he can defend until he cycles to the rocket, yeah, that's a good game. Yeah, Swordfish. I just want to mention the play at the very start of the game. Most of the time, extreme aggression straight out the gate seems to be a bad idea, but I do think it was warranted specifically in this case, because Swordfish knows that his opponent is the log bait master, and two out of three of his decks contain the rocket, right? So if the rocket is the perfect counter to the Lumberjack balloon, that you might want to use it straight out the gate, maybe catch an early tower out of like the hope that your opponent doesn't currently have the rocket, because the moment they know that your win condition is the balloon, then they're probably going to just keep that rocket in the back pocket at all times, right? Or am I mistaken?
I think that, no, you're 100% right. That early play was probably because of their knowledge of the opponent playing two long bait decks. You wanted to get like really early damage on the board, and oftentimes your starting hand will probably not have the appropriate cards to deal with it. Deal with the Lumberjack Balloon Push. But here we go into another game. We're going to see a Golem deck from the side of Swordfish. Oh my god, preemptive Golem. Just slapping his cards on the table.
Extreme aggression straight out the gate. Most Golem players would probably size up their opponent for a bit before putting that Golem. No, Swordfish going to go straight to putting down that Golem. And it looks like it's going to work. Golem targeting the tower instead of the Tesla. Unfortunate for Royal JJ, but it looks like he is going to ultimately be able to defend without losing his tower at the very least. Still, really unfortunate. That's half of his tower's health gone, and although he's going to be able to do some sort of counter push with the Royal Giants, the guards, Goblin Gang, are going to take it out. No big damage being done here, but the lead is shrinking, and we see that, yeah, both players are in it to win it. Both players have the capacity to win this game.
100%, Larry. And from what I'm seeing here, both players have this potential to just take the game by the reins. And my prediction is that Royal JJ comes back based on their decks. But oh my god, it's so brazen. The Night Witch is just so annoying. That Fireball log is ultimately worth it. We're gonna see probably like the Fisherman come down. Yeah, 100%. Right there.
Activate the King Tower early could ultimately end up being a mistake if this does come down to, you know, the Triple Crown. And it looks like the Baby Dragon is just gonna be left unchecked. Gonna have to Fireball that to prevent it from doing too much damage. And it looks like, yeah, that Golem at the bridge ended up working out for Swordfish because of that Baby Dragon being able to take advantage of the insane health that the Golem has.
Ultimately, we see that Royal JJ's deck is woefully unprepared for like a Night Witch, because ultimately what you're gonna need is really precise coordination to probably like drop your like Dark Prince on the Night Witch when it comes to your side of the board, and at the same time put down an Electro Spirit in order to try to catch those bats as she dies. Right?
We did see what was probably the main push of the deck, being Royal Giant Dark Prince right there. Ooh. And it did work out. It forced Swordfish to put his goblins on the other side of the map, rendering them effectively useless. But at the end of the day, he's ultimately able to defend with the combination of the Mega Minion and the Night Witch. And I'm beginning to see the reason that this Golem deck was meta for the longest time.
Yeah, absolutely. 10 seconds left. And Royal JJ is going to need some really serious defense in order to defend against this. And honestly, it just seems like it's over unless this next Royal Giant play is going to be able to take the bag here.
And you do have to keep in mind, because Royal Giant is rained, you always have to be on the lookout.
Oh my god, that's game-changing.
Just charge in and deal big damage. And it looks like that's what Royal JJ is trying to do. Royal Giant gets a single shot off, but now damage is more or less even. Right, a big, just some small thing from either players could end up. Oh, the lightning! I forgot about the lightning. I thought lightning did small crown tower.
Yeah, you kind of get self-absorbed and go on a rant.
Yep, commentator's curse. Definitely not me being bad at this game.
Yeah, you're kind of bad at this game, but honestly, you have some pretty nice flow, Larry. I gotta say.
Thank you, and you have some very good game knowledge. So
yeah. I'm here to shout randomly whenever something hype happens.
Still bad at talking though.
Larry, I'm gonna need an apology.
Lynn?
Yeah. Oh. Larry's left the. Oh. Okay, so Larry just left the call. Oh, welcome back, Larry.
I swear that was a mistake. I didn't actually mean to leave the call. I was trying to press the...
I was sitting there trying to figure out what the joke was.
No, I tried to press def, and it's basically like, shut up, I don't want to hear you talk, but I accidentally end up leaving the call. Anyways, going back into...
Wait, is this the same deck?
Yeah, Inferno Tower is looks like it's gonna be what Royal JJ needed to defend that golem. Gonna do a great job, and it looks like the 5 elixir card is just going to be able to clean up 8 elixirs worth of push on its own. So yeah.
Hold on, Larry. I'm a bit unfamiliar with the tournament rules, but to my knowledge, I thought you weren't able to use the same deck twice.
Yeah, I thought so too, but in that case, you would have wanted to, like, because there's a bunch of technicalities you can use to get around that. If you wanted to play the same deck 3 times, you could just switch out a single card. So I think this is ultimately more fair.
Oh no, Larry, they submit the decks earlier. And they
I know, but there's nothing stopping, because we see Royal JJ have 2 log bait decks, there's nothing stopping Swordfish from having 3 golem decks. Instead of running goblins, you run goblin gang.
Oh
it's
yeah,
basically the same deck.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so ultimately, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with playing the same deck 2 times in a row. It's just that most players probably don't want to, because they feel like they've been downloaded, and you want to have that sort of fresh, kind of in your face, like, haha, what are you gonna do to counter this one, you know?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
it's a really big psychological play from Swordfish over here, because they're saying, I think I have so much confidence in this deck that I'm gonna use it again. And I'm gonna see, and it's up to you to figure out how to stop it, because it's just so dominant. But really, with the presence of the Inferno Tower, it's really kind of backfired on Swordfish here in the psychological game. Now as a competitor, if I were in Swordfish's position, I would probably be doubting myself at this point. I would probably be saying, maybe this wasn't such a good idea to run the golem deck again, and I would get in my own head and start having negative feelings about myself.
And maybe he did actually luck out playing against the one deck Royal JJ ran that didn't have some like crazy defensive cards. This one has Inferno Tower. I believe the Prince or like Rascals do really well against the golem as well. And yet Royal JJ going to clean up that left side tower, going to be able to deal significant damage through not only chip damage, but through just a straight up push, you know, the Knight tanking, I believe. And yeah, that does really big damage that you wouldn't expect. So, okay.
And Royal JJ here, Swordfish trying to salvage his push, but ultimately nothing comes of it. It's already too late. Pushes for the golem deck are already too big. And
looks like
it's
he's
already
given
10
up. He
seconds
knows
left.
the golem can't even get to the tower in the time that he has left. Yeah, and the game is going to go to Royal JJ. So yeah, we're going to see a game 3 in this tournament. We don't know what decks that players are going to use, although I suspect that Swordfish is going to switch off his, what was it, golem deck, because he saw just how hard it got countered by the Inferno Tower.
Yeah, he's probably going to. He might go for the 3-time, honestly, because as like a really psychological nerdy player, I would go for the 3-time to say, aha, you juke yourself out, and now you don't have the Inferno Tower, and now I can push my golem deck all the way to the end and win right now. So really, there's a psychological battle going on that's sort of in Swordfish's favor, because based on the other decks that Royal JJ has brought, there's 2 bait decks, and only one of them has the Inferno Tower, right? And only one of them has the potential to kill that golem. And the other deck, I think, is the Electro. I think it's the Electro Giant deck, if I remember correctly.
No, it was the Royal Giant deck that he brought out in the first game.
It's the Royal Giant deck, yeah. And he could bring out the 3rd bait deck, and it does have potential to stop this golem because of the Prince over here. But I'm looking at the decks right now, but the Prince ultimately probably not going to.
I've been forgetting to do his job. Click on the I button. Not really gonna matter, and we're going to see both players stalling it out again, leaking massive elixir. Are we going to see a repeat of? No, we're not going to. Yep.
Oh my god.
Offensive plays being made all around, but Royal sorry. Wait, who playing? Moose? What's going on?
Moose?
Huh? Were we mistaken last time?
Oh, they won twice. I'm so.
Right. No, because it got mixed up because the players, I think, switched around. Because I keep thinking like bottom player, top player are the same person. So yeah, going straight into, I believe this is losers finals then.
Yeah, this is losers finals. Swordfish, actually. Wait, hold on.
He's playing his aggressive deck that running Bandit at the bridge, Battering Ram at the bridge, but unfortunately Moose is running the kind of punish heavy log bait deck with the Minitecker, specifically really good at countering Battering Ram and the Hog. I don't know if it's good against the Bandit, but I think it will ultimately end up proving good for him in this specific matchup.
Larry, hold on. I just need to clarify for a moment. I'm pretty sure Moose still had to fight the loser, which was Royal JJ, right? In the losers final.
Didn't Swordfish lose?
Oh, I thought Swordfish had the Golem deck, right?
I don't know that. Maybe they messed up.
Yeah, Royal JJ. Oh, never mind. I think I'm mistaken. Yeah,
Right,
Swordfish lost that one. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It all kept blending together. Yeah. Yeah. So we're really on track here.
Now that you say it, I actually don't know what's going on, but I do know that there's a match of Clash Royale to be commentated, and it looks
absolutely, Larry.
That Inferno Tower is going to be able to take out the P.E.K.K.A. even with the zap on the Inferno Tower. P.E.K.K.A. is going down, but he's going to, and the Battering Ram on the side going to be able to get a shot in, I think, and has to fireball the Goblin Barrel to not get too far behind in damage. So both players looking like this game is relatively even so far. The Archer Queen at the bridge could change that. Incredibly versatile card, incredibly good card, especially when it's invisible. Slowly pick off everything you try to use to defend it, but the mini P.E.K.K.A. going to ultimately be able to take it out. Yep.
Yeah, and it's just all a game of smoke and mirrors from the side of Swordfish here. Really living up to the name of bridge spam when they're using this deck right now. Just going for counter lane aggression, both lanes just having a ton of stuff that requires a lot of Moose's attention. And right now, I think Moose is kind of getting cross-eyed, trying to figure his way through this labyrinth of
I just want to point out that Bandit. It's dash through Barbarian Barrel, it's dash through Logs. It's done crazy work for Swordfish, but we're going to see Moose get the one-up on him in terms of damage because of that
is crazy
offensive card. Yep, and
that is offensive Inferno Tower.
Yeah. Actually working out rather well for him, surprisingly. That's not a play you see often, probably it's only good in niche scenarios, but it worked out for him here, so I'm not going to complain. And it does look like this is Moose's game to win. He has damage on both towers, whereas Swordfish has damage on one. So yeah, so now again, Swordfish is backed into a corner basically, has to constantly have Elixir in the back pocket,
I think it's
or he risks being able, or he risks what just happened, which is spending too much Elixir on one lane, not having enough to defend a surprise push from the other, and that's going to be the game for Moose.
I think that was a very scrappy battle. A lot of offense from both players, not very fantastic defense. We saw the pressure from both players was amazing. We saw, oh, now all the troops are on the top side of our screen. Oh, now all the troops are on the bottom side of our screen. And the Ram just connected with the tower. And what is going on? And why is there an Inferno Tower at the bridge? And somehow it works out after Moose pads it with their Spormy troops to try to protect the Inferno Tower and try to prevent the P.E.K.K.A. from trying to damage it. But that bridge play was, I honestly thought it was kind of questionable, but somehow Moose makes it work, and I have unbounded respect for him for doing that.
Alright, so Swordfish back on his Golem deck, going to have to give up, all the damage that miner did in order to get his classic Golem Nightwish push out. Right now, Moose, he has 10 Elixir left. Looks like he's going to be able to begin setting up his defense. Not the Musketeer, the Firecracker, that new card that I never know how to use. Gonna die to the arrows, but the Inferno Dragon combined with the Bomb Tower looks like it's gonna be enough to completely defend the Golem. Well, not completely defend, it got like death damage, but nothing too crazy. And Moose is technically leading in damage in this game so far, but nothing that a Golem deck can't turn around.
You know, Larry, if you remember, Moose earlier used this deck against a P.E.K.K.A. bridge spam deck from one of the players, and on it, I believe it was, with like one of the players, I think it was like, so let me check right now.
Yep. So he used this against the P.E.K.K.A. bridge spam, and I believe it did incredibly well.
It didn't actually do well at all.
Oh, no, right, because it's a Mega Knight deck, and Mega Knight got countered by P.E.K.K.A. Now I remember. Right?
Yeah, and like the Inferno Dragon, here's the kicker now. The Inferno Dragon is just not able to burn down any of his big troops because There was just a Zap, there was just Electro Wizard, there was just everything.
His opponent was running Zap, was running E-Wiz, so the Inferno Dragon proved useless in that game, but it looks like it's going to do crazy work in this game, and now Swordfish desperately has to defend against multiple big threats, and it looks like, yes, the Mega Knight is going to get its leap on. That's crazy big damage. That could end up being the deciding factor in this game. Although,
okay, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, like, Golem deck good, but go on.
Yeah, I was about to coin a new term called Commentator's Blessing, because I predicted that so hard. You just got the Inferno Dragon, you just got the Inferno Dragon just able to whittle everything down without any of the air troops being able to hurt it. And here, the Inferno Dragon isn't even coming out. Moose is just comfortable with using this Mega Knight to try to defend everything with this big splash damage. Caveman smash.
It's going to work out well for him, right? And now he's able to save that Inferno Dragon in the back pocket, I assume. He's going to be able to burn down the Baby Dragon, burn down the Mega Minion, and it looks like he's he's still winning this game. This game is his to win, right? Swordfish has to make some big plays if he wants to make up for the damage deficit. We see a big play coming out right here, and yeah, that Night Witch counters Inferno Dragon without even being able to hit air troops. Really good card. Yep, and the Golem is slowly heading down the lane. Bomb tower to defend. Again, we've seen this time and time again. Is Swordfish going to be able to switch it up and finally get the Golem to connect? It looks like the answer is going to be no. He's getting shredded. There's multiple Firecrackers, multiple Valkyries, just like whittling away at his Golem. That crazy health doesn't mean anything to Moose, who's able to defend the Golem every single time. Let's see if anything changes this time, but if Swordfish just keeps his approach the same, Golem...
Oh my god, the Firecrackers.
Yeah, it looks like the result is going to be the same, although the Lightning to kill the Bomb Tower, he's switching it up. It looks like he's made a mistake, but it looks like the Golem Knights are going to connect to the tower, not going to do enough damage though, because Moose still ending up in the lead, getting that poison on the tower to get some damage on the tower, kill the bats from the Night Witch, which I think was really, really important when you have an Inferno Dragon that could have targeted one of the bats, instead going to target the Golem, and I think that's going to end up, that's going to end up mattering a lot in the grand scheme of things. It's going to prevent the Golem from connecting to the tower, going to prevent the Golem from doing anything, really. And yep, this is Moose's game to win. I really don't think there's anything that Swordfish has left to do. Yeah, he's basically given up at this point, and that game is going to go to Moose. So, yep, really well played by both players, but I do believe Swordfish is now out of the tournament.
Unfortunate. And before we move on, before we jump straight into the finals, I want to maybe interview Swordfish about some of the plays they made there, and ask them about any regrets they had or anything that they thought they did well, and just generally what they thought about the game. Okay, I don't think they might be doing interviews. I think they're just jumping into the games. So I'm gonna try to contact them. But yeah.
Maybe they can commentate with us, because obviously, even though they did end up losing their games, they know way more about the game than well me. Maybe not you, because you're sweaty and like try hard this game, but I don't know that much, and it'd be great to have someone with lots of game knowledge talk about specific plays that are being made and why that's why that happens, basically.
Wait, Kevin, are you able to delay the match?
Sure.
I want to see. We can do a bit of recap and then we can jump into it. Does that sound good?
That sounds.
All right. Okay, I've tried to contact Kate and Swordfish over here, but yeah, let's just get a recap of what we've seen today.
Hey, welcome to the stream. You're live right now, and we want to talk to you about how the tournament went for you, basically, and what your thought process is. Or firstly, what are you feeling right now?
Disappointment, surely.
Well, okay. Well, that's sure to be felt in any tournament, but you did a very good run there. You had some really good moments with the Golem deck, and unfortunately, in the end, you just weren't able to counter the Inferno Dragon. But tell us a little bit about how you felt in those last two games.
Golem is actually the deck that I use in ladder. The only thing is that when I was playing it, I was running into a lot of hard matchups. Like when you were previewing the decks, I noticed there were a lot of Inferno Tower decks, as well as an Inferno Dragon deck, but I thought maybe if I could get a good enough lightning against the Bone Tower Inferno Dragon, I'd be able to take a tower, maybe two. But I think that Moose played defense very well, very carefully. He was alternating the defense, sometimes it's Bone Tower, sometimes it's the Inferno Dragon, and I kept holding my lightning for so many of those pushes. Because I was expecting one or the other to come. So unfortunately, I was not able to break through. Don't think my golem deck was too good here. I don't think I should have ran 3 beatdown decks, because all of my decks, you take tower with one nice push, but I think if I practiced a little bit on one of my control decks, I think I've done a lot better.
Yeah, okay. That was good analysis there. And I just want to move on to like one of your decks that we didn't see in the last match, which was your balloon deck. And I found I really enjoyed that balloon deck. I think it has some weaknesses clearly to the chip deck and the log bait deck, but obviously it fared really well. It had some really nice synergy, and I just wanted to ask you about how you felt about that deck and how it felt during the tournament.
Originally, when Golem got nerfed twice, 2 patches in a row, so Clash Royale does their balance changes every 3 months, and it was nerfed once, and then it was nerfed again, and then they nerfed Night Witch, so unfortunately the deck isn't as good as it once was, my Golem deck, so I created my Lumberloon deck when when Royal Hogs, Royal Recruits, they were all really big in the meta, so I decided to make this deck. And I altered it a little bit, just so that I would fare better against ladder players. Still, not really high level. Originally, I was using Baby Dragon instead of Musketeer, but I really needed that high damage output, so I switched it from Musketeer to Slickin. But yes, I do really like this deck. The only reason I didn't play it is because, Moose was using, double building, and he had a lot of good counters. So I was really worried about using Lumberloon because it's really bad against decks like Logbait, where you have the Inferno the Inferno Tower and the Rocket to counter the balloon. It's very hard to get damage.
Okay, now just jumping back to that last game there, do you feel like you had any if you had to play it differently with the Lightning and the Inferno Dragon, what's one thing you would have done? What's one big thing that you would have done differently?
I guess I would try to predict more things because I know Moose is playing a lot of stuff at the bridge. A lot of his defense at the bridge. He does that, just so that he doesn't get like a lot of spell damage on the tower and spell value, so that you can lightning both this and that. But lightning has a really good radius, and I think instead of focusing and trying to get damage by lightning the tower, I should have just lightning the bomb tower a couple of times, let the golem get a hit, maybe death damage, and I think that could have changed the game. Or maybe just gone the other lane. So I think a really good play most of the time, when you're in doubt about going one lane, just go to the other lane, and your opponent has to defend there. Eventually, it really spreads out the game.
Alright, thank you so much for your analysis, and that was a really good run there. Despite coming like 3rd of 4, it was still a really good run there, and a lot of your decks were really good.
Coming 3rd or 4th. This was a tournament through, like, you can claim that you're one of the best players in the school, and now you have something to back it up. Now people can't just point and say, haha, you're over-leveled, because you made it all the way to, 3rd best in the school. So, really proud of you.
4th
Good job.
best, because nobody's better than me.
Yeah, so when I was going against Jonathan, I was actually really worried, because if you didn't know, he actually taught me almost everything I know about Clash Royale, as well as one of my other friends. He is also the leader of the clan that I'm in. It's his clan. And I've gotten a lot of skill through just 1v1ing him and my other friend just over and over and over again. Although, every time I 1v1 him, I always lose. So I was really happy with his performance. I think he really showed up today, and I did win one match, which I'm really happy about against him.
Okay.
Right. So I assume you'll be cheering on your master from the sidelines now.
Yeah, I don't mean to bring up Jonathan, but if you look at his profile, you'll notice that one of his best seasons, he got 6,600 trophies, and I was there. Like, I was in the clan, I was cheering him on as he grinded up to be top 200 in Canada. So,
oh my god,
it was quite the run. back when he used to use his giant Sparky deck, unfortunately, it did get nerfed quite badly, so he hasn't used that deck in quite a while. But it was a good run.
It
Yeah.
was indeed.
Thanks for
That's
sharing
crazy.
this lore.
Yeah, thank you. And thank
No
you for
problem.
joining the tournament. It was great. Thanks for joining the call, obviously. It was great talking to you. But now we're gonna have to move on to the final stage of the tournament.
Yeah,
So,
thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
have a good night. Alright. That's about it. I think we're about to move into our final stage of the tournament. So, for now, let's look at the decks of these two players, because I think they were... I believe they were matched up initially, or am I mistaken? Moose and Royal JJ. Musa was matched up with Swordfish initially, so yeah. So that last match was a run back, and Moose able to take it over Swordfish and able to get revenge. But yeah, just a quick recap of the decks. You can see on Royal JJ's side, he's the one using both the log bait decks. He's the one using the two log bait decks with Rocket and the log, and just a lot of powerful pressure that it's really hard to ignore. And on the side of Moose's, we have some really special decks with like the minions in the P.E.K.K.A deck, and the Inferno Dragon, and with the Inferno Dragon deck, along with the Minor Poison, along with the Mega Knight. So a lot of versatility there, and really unique. I really like it. And we see on the far left over there, Moose's really unique take on log bait deck, the classic log bait deck that usually runs Ice Spirit and Knight. Now, with their adaptation, it's Mini P.E.K.K.A and Ice Golem.
And I just want to say, in a tournament setting, that might actually be the optimal play, especially when you factor in the fact that nerves are going on. A lot of the time, you might not be able to focus on, the other side of the screen, and and that matters a lot, right? If you let a knight slip through and get a shot in the tower, no big deal. If you Mini P.E.K.K.A slips through, gets a single shot on the tower, that's crazy huge damage. Right?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think that even though Mini P.E.K.K.A is one of the best cards on defense, I think that it does have some offensive potential at some points, as Larry says. And I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see it in this matchup, but if we are going to see it, it would be a real treat to see it. It will be a real treat to see him really use the Mini P.E.K.K.A to his advantage.
Okay.
And
now, Kevin, can you pull up the bracket? I kind of want to talk with that as the backdrop. All right.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to move on to, I believe this is Grand Finals, right?
This is Grands, and if Moose is able to win, unfortunately, he'll have to run back the best of 5 again. So we're going to be here for like an hour. So strap in, everybody, because we're going to be doing a lot.
This is going to be a best of 5, if I'm not mistaken. Kevin, can you confirm that?
Yep, it's gonna be 5.
Okay. Yeah, best of 5, because it is the finals. We want to, everyone wants to see people who can claim to be the best in the school. Right. So best of 5 finals, and like you said, if Moose does win the first game, he's gonna have to do it all over again. So basically, Royal JJ, he looks like he's set. He's going to be able to get the download on all of Moose's decks in set 1. If it does come to be the case that they have to run it back, Moose is gonna have to outplay him at every single corner. Right. So. Again,
right now, if I'm in Moose's position, I want to talk from the position of both these players, because Royal JJ, Jonathan, he's running a lot of bait right now, and his other deck is this Royal Giant deck that doesn't really hit hard in terms of defensive damage, but is able to just whittle down the opponent's towers using just repeated Royal Giants cycling a lot. So a lot of cycle decks from Jonathan's side. And from Moose's side, just a lot of really unique decks. You can see the bridge spam deck on the right, the defensive deck in the middle, and the bait deck on the left. So if I were in Moose's position, I would be careful when I would be using this middle deck here. This really defensive deck with a lot of splash damage. I think it excels at defeating like large amounts of bait, such as the large amounts of log bait, with the Valkyrie, with the Mega Knight, with the literally 4 of the defensive cards are all area damage. You can see the Firecracker there. That's going to be really annoying if Royal JJ wants to defend any big pushes from Moose that potentially can come.
I think
So
Minor Poison is going to be really strong into the
Yeah.
sort of defense that Royal JJ is running, because he's running, I believe, guards are going to die to poison, Goblin Gang dies to poison, right? Goblin Barrel, if you're desperate enough to have to use that on defense, dies to poison, right? So a lot of the things that he is going to that he's used to doing to defend aren't really going to work out in his favor this time around.
yeah, and so Jonathan really has to think about his game and when he's going to be facing that deck, because as we saw earlier, you're allowed to play the same deck twice, right? With Swordfish's gambit of using the Golem deck twice. It's his comfort zone, right? He's able to use that Golem Night Witch combo really effectively along with the Lightning. So with Royal JJ's decks, a lot of he's going to be able to maybe use the Royal Giant deck a few more times, because a lot of his bait decks are vulnerable to the middle deck that Moose has with a Mega Knight.
And I think that this is a kind of like mind games in play, because the defensive deck are going to be really well, or do really well against decks that rely on damage from things like the Princess, or I don't know, just getting some random chip damage in from your Goblin Barrels, right? But I don't think all the defense in the world can stop a Royal Giant if cycled correctly, if timed correctly. It's always going to get a couple of shots off. So yeah, Royal's third deck might be the thing that he needs to win this tournament if he's going to constantly be able to whittle down the towers of his opponent.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be what I would be looking to do if I was on the side of Royal. I'll definitely be looking for an opportunity, like thinking about the mind games of when I want to use this really strong Royal Giant deck that I believe is a meta deck, and I believe we're going to be jumping into it soon as we switch to the game.
Yep. So
now we're just anticipating the game.
Nothing yet, but it does look like the players are going to be. I think they're selecting their decks right now, and yet the mind games are coming in. Is he going to use the defensive deck? Is he going to use the beatdown deck? And that's the thing. When you bring multiple different deck archetypes to the tournament, that's the sort of thinking your opponent has to do, and it puts you at an advantage already. I think that's why players are going to have to sit at 10 Elixir for a while, wait for their opponent to make the first move, and the first move has been made by Moose, putting down that Miner, going to get 2 shots in before Royal JJ reveals which deck he's using, because I believe he's definitely using the Royal Giant deck, trying to account for the fact that his opponent could be using a really defensive deck, and ultimately he guessed right. So, if what we've discussed is correct, then this match is going to be in favor of Royal JJ, because the incredible attack power of the Royal Giant, always able to sneak by, get maybe a couple shots in, is going to be able to whittle down the towers of Moose.
I think Moose has to still be careful here because of the Electro Spirit that is really able to counter the Inferno Dragon. And I really disagree with putting the Inferno Dragon in the back to just sort of cycle, because the Inferno Dragon is such a vital part. And I think right now predicting Royal JJ is going to go for a Royal Giant counter push, but no, I was completely wrong. Absolutely incorrect. Absolutely
Mega Knight
fooled on the
defense
live stream.
going to show you why this deck is touted as one of the most defensive decks, right? And the Fisherman, I actually didn't know it provided slow until recently. It looks like, though, the Firecracker is going to activate the King Tower. So unfortunate for Royal JJ. He's going to say oops, and that's going to put him at a disadvantage. That could cost him the game, especially now that we're in Grand Finals, and both of these players, as we know, incredibly skilled at the game.
Yeah, and even though the King Tower activation comes out, I don't think it's really important for a lot of what Moose is playing. Maybe it denies the minor poison cycle if Moose wants to play a really defensive archetype. But unfortunately, getting the damage lead early, getting the 700 damage over Royal JJ, the Electro Spirit's gonna shut down the Inferno Dragon. But unfortunately, I don't think the Royal Giant's could be too long for the squirrel over here.
Yeah, and what we see, what you just talked about, the fact that the Inferno Dragon being one of the most important cards for Moose, that comes into play because it just absolutely shuts down the Royal Giant. It's not the Princess. It can't attack from outside of your lane's range, or your side of the half. It can't attack out of its range, right? So it still needs to walk over, and in that time, the Inferno Dragon can do some crazy things. But it does look like Moose is going to have to put down a desperate bomb tower to prevent too much damage from being done to his tower. Going to work out for him because he's still up in damage based on the constant cycling that his minor poison has been doing. Right? And it looks like everything is going in his favor.
I would argue that the minor poison is sort of excessive right now. Because really, if you think about it, what does the poison hit? Maybe kills the skeletons, and maybe does some shit to the Dark Prince, but really, it doesn't really do much. So if I were Moose right now, I would retire the poison to use defensively. So that if there's like anything, I would, in fact, I might even retire the poison entirely. Because I just don't see a use for the poison right now. There's just nothing on it.
I'm gonna have to disagree because as we see, he's never actually been punished for it, right? Especially because you seem to underestimate like how much damage skeletons can do. If the miner can get like 4 extra hits because the skeletons die straight off the bat, I think that could be the thing that that adds up over time. And if you're trying to win by chip damage, that could be the deciding factor for who wins the game.
That's actually
so you can't just look at the elixir values. Yeah.
You actually be right. And now that I'm looking at like the Tesla, I think evaluating Tesla, it might actually be an important factor here. Royal JJ is just not able to. Oh my god.
And he has, he manages to get down two Royal Giants. Yeah, but if he can't kill the Inferno Dragon, it's just gonna absolutely tear through those massive Royal Giants. Because the Inferno Dragon, that's a specialty, right? Just tearing through huge health, minions with huge health.
And I'd like to mention, Larry, you're actually correct about it. And Royal JJ is going to leak a lot of elixir in his indecisiveness. Yeah, you were actually right about the poison. Just able to take down the Tesla and able to force Royal JJ to spend a lot more on defense. And so far, we've seen a lot of overtime, and that's because of we've seen a lot of overtimes in this tournament. And that comes down to these decks being really close and being really good defensively. We see both players are just able to just assert their power defensively, and it's going to be a good game because the poison does 2-on-1 damage.
Right, Snowball, it's going to take out the tower. And that's game 1 to Moose.
Wow. Amazing. Moose's form at the start of the tournament was kind of questionable, you have to admit, because putting the Inferno Tower at the bridge, sometimes just putting the P.E.K.K.A in front of the tower to defend against 3 Royal recruits, it was sometimes questionable, but now he's bringing his A game. The real defensive power of this deck is coming out. That big, the big Mega Knight, the big Valkyrie, and the big, most importantly, the Inferno Dragon, just able to whittle down everything. It's just, I'd just be excited to see what Royal JJ has as a counter to that, and what's going to happen in this next game.
Because contrary to what I believed, good defensive decks don't necessarily do that well against aggression, right? Anyways, moving on, Royal JJ has switched over to one of his 2 log bait decks. We still don't know which because never mind the one. Yeah, running Ice Spirit. So it looks like it's going to be the more classic version of this deck, right? One that he's probably really experienced with. It's been around for years, but that also knows that his opponent knows exactly how to counter it. His opponent, Moose has stayed with the minor poison that's worked for him so well, and it's going to work for him, especially if his opponent uses things like Goblin Barrel, Goblin Gang to defend against his push, right? Ultimately, though, we see that the Knight is one of the best cards in the game against the minor poison push because it doesn't die to poison and it can solo the minor. So if Royal JJ can constantly, he basically has to guess, right? Because Moose can switch up where he places the minor. But if he guesses right every time, well then Moose, that's just his entire game plan down the drain.
100%. And Moose right now, not really able to defend well against this Goblin Barrel. We saw that Ice Spirit Goblin Barrel push really was effective because the Giant Snowball was not able to completely kill the Goblins, and the Ice Spirit bought enough time for the Goblins to get a few really good stabs in that were really vital to the momentum of this game. And the Inferno Tower going to be activating the King Tower right now, and it's just not looking very good for Moose right now. Jonathan really bringing his A game to the table, and we see there again, the Ice Spirit Goblin Barrel, and it's just so well played. Both towers are low.
I think the spells in this game are actually really balanced because you can switch between the Zap, the Log, and now you have the Giant Snowball. And I guess that's the price you pay for not running the log and instead opting to choose Giant Snowball. Yes, you get that you get that better, like you get to air troops, you get effect that could be vital in some scenarios, but at the end of the day you can't defend against Goblin Barrel, and when you're playing against Log Bait, that's one of the most important things that you have to worry about. So again, a Goblin Barrel gonna constantly get that chip damage in. Royal JJ, he's actually going to even be able to kill the what's it called, Firecracker with the Princess in one shot because the Goblin got a damage on it, right? But we do see plays being made here. Things are dying, damage is being done to towers. Yep. Ultimately though, Royal JJ. Shut up, Alan. I just say words when I don't have anything reasonable, or anything substantive to add. I'm sure commentators will do that too.
Sometimes you just gotta stay silent. That's what I learned from watching commentators.
And that means that you're watching commentators who are bad, because I am clearly the best commentator, and you don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, Southern Death.
I'm gonna cry, Larry. I'm gonna cry on stream.
And it looks like, yeah, Royal JJ managed to outsmart his opponent by putting the Goblin Gang right after his opponent burned the poison, and that Goblin Barrel is going to... Oh, this one actually gets no damage just because of the Valkyrie, but his opponent had to over-defend.
You have to ask whether it's worth it, just the Valkyrie and the Giant Snowball.
I think in this specific scenario it was worth it, just because his tower is at such a low hit point value that a single Goblin Barrel could be the thing that decides. Yet desperately having to use the Valkyrie, the Mega Knight, to defend a Goblin Barrel, and ultimately that's going to mean that Royal JJ has enough time to cycle to the rocket, take the tower, and the game is going to him. So we're going to go into game 3. I think the players are tied 1-1, and yeah, let's see if either of them switches something up and shocks us all.
That was just a masterclass. Royal JJ recognized that Moose had nothing for the Goblin Barrel. They had the maybe the Giant Snowball, but nothing that was a hard counter that they could hold in their hand for a long time. And just because of that fast cycle, that not being able to put down the Valkyrie and the Giant Snowball, you did mention that it was a temporary solution that was really effective in stopping the Goblin Barrel from getting further damage. But what about the next time, you know? What about the next time that the Goblin Barrel comes down? We saw at the end of the game that Moose had to use a Mega Knight in order to deny a Goblin Barrel, not even completely. And that's what ultimately ended up costing the entire game there, is the Goblin Barrel just able to get that chip down to rocket range and just able to win that game.
Okay, and so we're going to see Moose sticking with his tried and true deck, the one that did him well the first time, but didn't do him too great the second time. I'm not too sure about staying on the same. Yeah, activate the King Tower. Moose is that crying log, right? But like I was saying, I'm not too sure about this whole sticking on the same deck thing, right? Because, hold on, was that... I'm not sure what I just saw. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe if you time it correctly, the Snowball can't actually defend the Goblin Barrel.
Yeah, it can. The Snowball is able to do that.
Huh. Damn, why didn't you say so earlier, Alan? You're a bad person, you know that? Anyway.
I'm really sorry, Larry. I'm sorry that you're bad at the game.
His third and final deck, the one running Dark Goblin, my personal favorite card, and it looks like it's going to manage to do lots of work defending both lanes with a single card. That's what I call value, right? Anyway, Goblin Barrel gonna constantly be coming out from Royal JJ, something that Moose always has to keep in mind. So it can't ever give up all of his Goblin Barrel defense cards, which means that he has to, unfortunately, sometimes give up things like, I don't know, he's not gonna be able to use the Snowball to defend just because, you know, if he didn't have the Snowball to defend the Goblin Barrel, it would go a lot worse for him.
Imagine the 5-peat though. Oh my god. That's an assertive play. Okay, that was an oops. I thought that was an actual play.
Maybe it was just a finger slip. Maybe it was something they didn't mean to do.
But you can see here that he actually manages to get value for it.
Yeah, so for all it's worth, you know, that did work out for him. But the Goblin Barrel, what's he gonna do to defend? He's gonna use the Giant Snowball. Goblin Barrel gets a single hit off, so I'm not so sure about that no damage thing. Maybe it was a fluke. Maybe
it was just badly timed. It was slightly early.
Yeah. Alright. And it looks like Moose is going to try and use the Mega Knight offensively. Although we did talk about it and say, like, in this matchup, his main offensive push should be the minor poison, right? Because that's the one that manages to
Dark
clean up. Yeah,
Goblin gonna get
Dark
so
Goblin
much value. Oh my
outranges the bomb tower, going to be able to completely take it out, and that's yeah, that's going to mean that Moose is sadly has to desperately defend, although he still is winning the game, so maybe he didn't work out too badly for Royal JJ. Yep. So we're going to see the Prince on the right side gonna actually connect with the tower. That's gonna do massive damage. I don't know if Moose just didn't see that or didn't think it was worth defending. Although probably was the former, considering he did put down the bomb tower. Again, we're seeing how substantial the Dark Goblin half-point range is, because it outranges bomb tower, to be able to take it down from afar, right? And that miner is going to be able to constantly get in chip damage. Maybe that's going to be the way that Moose wins this game, just going to constantly fire miners at the tower, same way Royal JJ's been constantly firing Goblin barrels, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Again, we see the Goblin get one hit on the tower, so I don't know if that's just timing, but it looks like if that keeps being the case, Royal JJ is going to be able to just Goblin barrel cycle out his opponent and end up taking the tower for the win.
I think that's what's going to happen, Larry. And I'm not seeing too much that Royal JJ can do here. And the Prince just barreling down the field. It's just unfortunate because of the guards and the
he's attacking both towers with Goblin barrels now. I don't know if that's optimal.
Yeah, it's just within rocket range now. It's just a good game.
Yeah, this game's just over. But he's shown that yeah, his opponent poisoning the King Tower. There's just nothing he can do. Oh no, that was activated before from the Musketeer. But we do see the Goblin Barrel finally slipping through, finally able to win Royal JJ the game. So now, if I remember correctly, he's up 2-1, and taking another game will win him the tournament.
He's absolutely ripped open the weakness of Moose's defensive deck that's worked so well across this tournament, which is that it's just not Moose is just not able to time the giant snowballs correctly. So right now, if I were Moose, I would just retire that deck and maybe bring it back at a game 5 to try to bring it back as a trump card and catch him off guard at choosing the Royal Giant deck. But if I am Jonathan, I would not choose the Royal Giant deck again, because clearly it hasn't worked this tournament. It hasn't worked ever. It's clearly just not a card that you're supposed to use in this matchup, and there's not a lot of utility that you can use against any of Moose's decks here that we've already seen. You know, the really defensive deck that we just saw, the P.E.K.K.A. Bridge spam one, and also the unique take on Logbait. None of those really present a really good matchup for the Royal Giant, mainly because of the Inferno Towers and Dragons and the P.E.K.K.A. Those three central cards just whittle down the Royal Giant and just deny it from having any impact completely.
Royal JJ, we see him going with the tried and true classic Logbait. It's his final game if he wins it, so understandable why he wants to go with something that he knows is going to work, no matter what his opponent is running. And it looks like Moose is going to run the P.E.K.K.A. Bridge spam deck, which I'm not so sure about its defensive qualities. That we see the Giant Snowball again going to not be able to successfully fully defend the Goblin Barrel. I don't know if we're ever going to see it again, but if we don't, that could spell the end for Moose, just because he can't defend a single 3 elixir card. It's kind of crazy how close some things in this game are. And I kind of forgot how low, how little health Magic Archer had, right? He's gonna die to a single Princess shot and a log.
Yeah, and a lot of this game comes down to really thin margins, because both our players here are really amazing players, top 2 in the school, honestly, behind me, of course. And a lot of these giant snowball timings, I usually miss them. I'm usually not able to really get the entire value of the snowball, and it's understandable why Royal JJ would want to go for something like this repeatedly, because Moose is not a pro player. Everybody's bound to make tiny mistakes like these.
Yeah, and tiny mistakes like the one hit of a Goblin that's going to add up over time. So we see a desperate attempt at a push, the P.E.K.K.A. in the back, but we know that Royal JJ has that Inferno Tower saved up. So we know that, if the moment that the P.E.K.K.A. gets to the correct side of the map, it's not going to do that much. So I don't know if this is a play of desperation, or maybe he's going to back it up with the E-Wiz, but no, the crying log indicates that he just wasted 2 elixir, threw it into the garbage because his P.E.K.K.A. isn't going to do anything. So yeah, again, getting some chip damage off that Goblin Barrel, Royal JJ just outplaying his opponent at every twist and turn. You see him constantly being able to perfectly defend everything that Moose tries to throw at him, right? Again, this P.E.K.K.A. looks like it's going to just die naturally to the tower and the princess. The Ice Spirit there to confirm that happens. And yeah, this is absolutely, this looks like his tournament to win. I just don't see any way that the Moose brings this back in the 20 seconds that he has left. And he's already given up. But he's fired his Giant Snowball at the King Tower. Yep. Pack it up, go home, tournament over. Royal JJ is your Clash Royale School Tournament champion.
Yeah, just a really nice masterclass of using the bait deck coming out from Royal JJ. And unfortunately, Moose was not able to bring a lot of decks that were really able to respond to that unless he used his own bait deck. But then again, it would be a battle of bait deck versus bait deck. And I think Royal JJ has proven so far in this tournament that a bait deck is his A game. And if you're going to be playing an A game against if you're going to be playing somebody's A game, you better be also on your A game as well.
Right. So yeah, looks like that's just going to be it. No need for the second set. Royal JJ is completely showing his dominance, showing why he's, according to Caden, one of the top 200 Clash Royale players in Canada. Really, really impressive, and really a really good display of skill all throughout this tournament. So now that the tournament's over, why don't we get them into the call and talk to them like we did the other competitors? Kevin, would that be possible? Because I imagine they.
That is.
Things to say.
Want me to bring?
I mean, we can get both of them in, right? I think it'd be good to have them kind of talk to each other, and we can kind of compare and contrast strategies, right? So first, but both of you, it doesn't matter who answers. I just want to figure out how are you feeling stressed, pressured right now? Is your heart pounding? Because was this tournament a big deal for you, basically?
My blood pressure is so high right now.
Yeah. I imagine it's the same. All right, so yeah, because everyone who's been to a tournament can attest that the later the tournament gets, the higher the stakes are and the more likely you are to be stressed out. So with that in mind, let's talk about some of the plays that were made. Alan, you want to take over?
Well, first of all, I want to get into I want to get into your emotions going into the last game. What were you thinking, and what was the strategy? What was the main strategy that you employed to try to beat Moose? I know that that you used the Goblin Barrel a lot, and you understood that there wasn't really a hard counter to it. So what were you thinking going into that last game when you're thinking about picking your decks?
So going into the last game, I was pretty confident because, I mean, if you look at his decks, the only thing he has to counter Barrel is that log bait deck, and so I decided to give my RG deck one more chance, and obviously it has failed me yet again. So I just decided to, play bait. I'm good with bait, and yeah, luckily I just got some good matchups, and that was that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I want to mention the Royal Giant deck. I want to mention your thinking about why it failed so miserably and why it wasn't really able to get any traction during the tournament. Can you just explain a bit for our viewers why it's just not a good matchup against a lot of the other competitors?
Probably because I'm bad with it. No, but I think one of the main reasons is a lot of people were running Inferno Dragon and lots of buildings and stuff, and RG actually got that deck got nerfed twice as well in the past season. It used to be really strong, but then I guess Supercell noticed that RG was getting too strong, so they nerfed it. Not blaming it on the nerf, of course, but I think it was just some unfortunate matchups. Either that or I'm just terrible with the deck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Also, I just want to ask: did you find this deck somewhere, or did you craft it yourself? Because I've personally never seen it before.
The Royal Giant deck?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I got it from somewhere. I might have added a couple modifications to it, but yeah, I definitely didn't come up with this one.
Now,
Alright,
I want to pivot to Max. Commiserations on your loss in the grand finals there, but congratulations on getting second place. Now, I just want to ask you about one of your main decks that saw the most success, which is the Mega Knight deck. And me and Larry, when we were commentating, we were complimenting how well it was defensively, and the minor poison chip was just really riddling and unrelenting. And it was just such a strong deck. Just put an iron wall around your princess towers. So I just wanted to ask you, what went wrong in the last game there? Why do you think Jonathan was able to beat you out with his bait deck?
Defensive decks, they're only defensive against some decks. There's like way too much types of decks. There's tank decks, there's spam decks, hog cycle. I specifically made the deck so that it should beat hog cycle. It should beat any tank deck, spam deck, but only loses against log bait. That's why I was debating between the snowball and the barbarian barrel, but needed the snowball for hog decks, like any air deck basically. So that's why.
Right, so this tournament format really kind of making you make some tough choices that ultimately might not have been the greatest. Right.
Yeah, so
although,
I
do you
wanted
think
to ask...
suppose you put Barbarian Barrel instead of the Giant Snowball in the deck, do you think that the tournament would have gone differently?
Possibly. I think one of my battles was very close. I think the second,
like from my perspective, all the battles were really close. Because great plays by everyone.
Overtime.
Log would definitely, especially in my P.E.K.K.A deck. I got the Ewis to counter his Inferno Tower, so the log would help a lot.
Yeah, and that was really monumental against the Inferno Dragon of one of the earlier players, right? So ended up working out well.
Okay.
So,
So I just wanted to mention your P.E.K.K.A deck right now, and I'm seeing the minions, and I'm thinking that this is sort of an old school deck that, because of the presence of minions, isn't really present in like nowadays decks. Normally you'd have like a Royal Ghost there and something other than air defense. So what was your thinking when you put the minions there?
Well, because when I was training with classic challenges, I was way too much Lava Hound decks, like way too much. So yeah, that possibly scarred me.
That's understandable. Lava Hound decks are obviously really powerful and they really assert a lot of dominance. So that's about it from me. Larry, do you have any more to say?
No, because I don't really all of you are better than me at the game by a ton, so I can't really comment about specific choices in decks. I just want to say, really well played on the mental part, especially because I know, like Jonathan, you said your blood pressure was crazy high right now, probably not too good for your health to be attending this sort of thing. But yeah, really great job on being able to stay calm, making those calm, collected, well thought out plays. And yeah, I just can't thank you enough for showing up to this tournament, showing up to our calls, because you make this tournament happen. Right, so thank you to you guys for attending.
Yeah, and thank you guys for playing this together. And everyone played really well.
Yeah, 100%. They were all really close. And well, there we have it. Jonathan is our school champion for Clash Royale. So give it up for him in the Twitch chat or something. But that's about it from us. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure to tune in for other AYJ gaming things. I'm pretty sure there's going to be some new league stuff soon. But yeah, that's about it from us.
Right, and we'll see you next time then. So,
alright, thank you for watching.
Peace.
At
Bye-bye.
Gaming Club. That's it then.
Bye.
Stream's over, guys.
Later.